Hello and welcome to Flix and Chill with me, Luke. Today I have a very special guest on my show. His name is Nash, and just from the brief moment I've had with him, he's a genuine doll. So, Nash, can you take away and introduce yourself, please?
Wow.
I
Wow,
know.
you threw in a last name pun immediately, huh?
Thank you.
Introduce myself, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my name's Nash. Is this wait, just out of curiosity, just
Tell me.
behind the baseball a little bit. Is this the Tinder profile section that you wanted to?
No, just about you, just about
Okay.
like your generic, whatever you want to give us and whatever you don't want to give. Obviously, you keep it to yourself.
All right, sick. Okay. Um, I'm 5'11" and three
Okay.
quarters, and I look taller because I'm really skinny. No, I'm not going to actually do that.
What kind of season are you? Are you fall or are you winter? Let's go through
Oh,
the.
ooh, okay. That's a good question. Let's see. I'm probably spring actually.
Oh,
I think spring is a good like you come out of winter and you're like, "Oh, I have had some bad thoughts the last couple months," and then, it mixes a little bit. There's still some rain. Anyways, I don't know why we're talking about this.
I'm very happy for you that he finally came out. Like that's takes so much time and bravery. Like
Thank
girl,
you. Thank you.
preach,
You know
preach.
what?
If
Thank you.
only we were all as strong as you.
Wow, wow. I really appreciate your kind words. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm on the show because I love movies, and so movies are a huge part of my personality.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of love all things pop culture, and it's something that I've kind of came to a little bit later in life because I didn't watch a ton of stuff when I was younger. I was pretty sheltered when I was younger.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of the stuff that I've engaged with has been in the last 10, 12 years. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Love to talk all sorts of
Hmm.
shenanigans on
Very
the interweb.
nice. Well, very happy to have you. Very happy to
Yeah.
have you. So, since you hinted at the my first question, so let's go there. So, obviously, as you mentioned, you like movies, and we
hmm
will talk a bunch of movies later on. But besides movies, what makes Nash Nash? What are your other hobbies? What are you really into? What are your maybe likes, dislikes, all that shenanigans? Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. When I was kind of going through this, I was like actually looking at the dating profile that I had.
Oh,
I
nice.
was, so I was like, oh, how did I answer some of these questions? And so, I would like to think that I'm a fairly multi-dimensional human being in terms of what I'm interested in.
Hmm.
It's really easy for me to fall in love with things. So if people introduce me to their hobby and they're super passionate about it, it's really easy for me to get super into it.
Hmm.
So I am a big fan of sports, like across the spectrum. Like I will watch just about any sport. I've recently started watching college volleyball
Oh, nice.
because a friend of mine took me to a college volleyball game, and it was the speed and the precision of the players. It was just like these women are incredibly athletic, and I was blown away. And now I'm obsessed with it. So I was like watching on some like ESPN 4 or something the other day.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I'm a big food guy. I don't turn basically anything down. I would like to say that I have a pretty diverse palate. If I probably spend the most amount of my money, like disposable income, on eating out. I love to eat at new restaurants. Recently, I just tried Ethiopian food for the first time.
Nice.
Had a really great time. Let's see. I live in an area that is surrounded by the outdoors in such a way that like you can in a couple hours you can go to the mountain and be in the snow. You could go to the
Hmm.
high desert and be in the high desert. You could go, you could go to
Sensible.
the
All right.
you could go and spend the day at the beach. You can
Hmm.
go for hikes. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can go tubing down the river. You can kayak. I'm
Mm.
not a super outdoorsy person though, so
I was gonna ask, so do
I
you do
don't,
all that? Like, have you been kayaking recently? Have you climbed a mountain? Have you been to the
I
desert recently then?
I've done all of those things, and
Nice.
I'm somebody who do a lot of things by myself. I'm a pretty independent person. That doesn't mean I don't have a wonderful community around me, and I'm
Hmm.
a yes man. So if somebody asks me to do any of those things, I will almost undoubtedly say yes, just because I like spending time with those people. Um, but a vast majority of the time, I'm spending it by myself, and if that's the case, I'm not gonna go
Hmm.
whitewater rafting.
Of
But I
course.
have gone whitewater rafting down the Colorado River in
It's
Like,
quite dangerous by yourself though. Like that would be very dangerous.
yeah.
Like
Um,
not recommended. Not recommended at all.
yeah. Let's see. I think, you know, yeah, one of those elements of like, I feel like you hear that like jack of all trades, master of none. That
Hmm.
is very much applies to how I view myself. Like, I don't necessarily look at myself as very good at anything,
Hmm.
um, but I love so many things and I dabble in so many things. Um, I love to try to make people laugh. I do improv comedy,
Oh, nice.
on the side. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but uh, making people laugh is probably one of my favorite things to do if I can
Hmm.
manage that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what's your latest like obsession then? Because you say you like you try like different new things, you try different things. So what is your latest like obsession that could potentially turn into hobby? Let's say you started something last week, last month.
Well, I guess there's twofold. There's two things
Hmm.
that right now that are very much at the top of my mind.
Hmm.
Um, and it has to do with kind of the recent new year. I am working on developing a show myself, like a podcast show myself.
Oh, nice.
And so really getting into like the editing element and the free flowing conversational element. So I would say that that is something that I'm super into and spending a lot of
Hmm.
time. I have a journal over here that I'm writing ideas in.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say that that's probably in terms of like active hobby that I'm engaging in. In terms of something that I'm just interested in that has come on recently that has spiked to a point where it's one of my favorite things to engage in, and we will get to this a little bit later, is I love the WNBA. I'm a huge
Ooh.
fan of the WNBA. I live in, I don't know if I've said this yet. I live in Portland, Oregon,
Hmm.
and they were just this past year, like we are getting our own WNBA team. I couldn't be more excited. I'm a huge fan of the game. I'm a
Hmm.
huge fan of all the players. There's in Portland, there is what I think is the first bar that is, it's called the Sports Bra, and it is specifically, it only shows women's sports. And it's the first bar in the country to do so, where it's like the only sports that it shows are women's sports. And
Hmm.
it's in my neighborhood, and I love to go there. So I would say that kind of twofold, those are my two big things that I'm like actively telling people about that I'm engaging in.
I have so many questions.
Okay.
First of all, the sports bra, it kind of sounds like same. It's one of those titles. It's like I can see being feminist and also anti-feminist at the same time.
Well, I mean,
It's
it's queer owned. It's like
yeah.
uh I would say that probably 60 to 70% of the people that frequent it are women, people of color, and it's like the
Hmm.
gays, theys, and
We
like
like the gays. Yes, we
yeah,
stand the gays. Yes, and then it's like a sports bra. It's I
yeah.
like the name, but I can imagine like people. Some people will be like, oh, so like they would have a problem with that. But also, it's very funny. I just find it funny.
I mean, I would say, I see that. I see your point, but I raise
Mm.
you, how many sports bars exist that for, I mean, every sports bar that exists, most of them have only ever shown men's sports.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah.
yeah, they
No,
can
100,
lean
no,
into it.
100%. And my other question was, or will be, so what is the podcast about? Will you drop us, will you give us some exclusives? Well, like, what's Nash show about?
Yeah, so I have for a long time wanted to maybe do a podcast,
Hmm.
but we talked a little bit about an inferiority complex, a performance anxiety, and so I was like, I think I just need to do it by myself because
Hmm.
to prove to myself that I can do it, to hold myself accountable.
Hmm.
And so it's going to be movie based, and it's going to be tied specifically to new movies because I spend a lot of my free time at the movie theater.
Okay.
And but I wanted to do that in a somewhat creative way, so I am creating a character through which I
Ooh.
am going to be talking about the movies. And yeah,
So it's
it's
not gonna be you, it's gonna be your character.
it will be my character, which will be me,
Oh.
but it's like I'm crafting a conceit that
Hmm.
I think is both funny and engaging that will hopefully get people in the door to listen to me talk about.
Okay. Do you have any date roughly where, like, when you planning to launch it? Like, let's say when you're gonna drop first episode?
Yeah, so my idea, is I want to create an episode after every single movie that I see in theaters, which is going to be a lot of episodes because I see a lot of movies in theaters. Now,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those movie days are dual, like I'll see two or three movies in a day, and so I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably combine those. I haven't been to the theater yet because of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm planning on going probably next weekend. Next weekend is a long weekend,
Mm-hmm.
with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I'm probably going to go then, which means I'm going to actually record my first episode. So I would say go live by the end of January. I'm also writing a script for my kind of, it's like a 5 minute kind of improvisational script, kind of as a joke to set up the character as like an introductory episode. That script
Mm.
is written. I have two parts in it, and those people are going, so I'm going to have them record their parts. It's kind of like an acting exercise. So I would say by the end of January, keep your eyes and ears peeled.
Okay, that sounds. See, I know what you mean, but I'm very curious of the like about the execution of it and how that character, which is gonna be you, but also a
Mhm.
character, will work. I'm genuinely curious. I am
Yeah,
genuinely curious.
I'm only holding it close to the chest because I'm proud of it and
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely want people to be surprised
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that if anybody knows me, which I mean, I don't know who all listens to this, who actually knows who I am. Like, I'm a pretty private person. I don't like post online a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I, so this is going to be an exercise in something that I have never done before, and I think it's really cool, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a shock to the system to anybody who follows me, and so I'm kind of excited about that. So that's the reason why I'm holding it a little bit close to the chest.
Nice. No, like I'm expecting a link once the first episode drops. I will listen to it as long as you're not gonna talk spoilers. Because like I purposely do not listen to many podcasts to talk about. I don't know how you have it, but like me as as a person who talks movies online with people or by myself or writes about movies, I really try to stay away from reviews of new movies, so
Hmm.
not to cloud my own judgment. Meaning, if I want to see a new movie coming out tomorrow, whatever, I really don't I don't even want to see Rotten Tomato score. I don't want to see IMDb score. I don't want to nowadays. I don't even want to see a trailer. I just want to sit down at a cinema and either love it or like it or dislike it, but like for my very own opinion and not be like, oh, I remember this guy from Sitwo gave it 4.5, but this one only 2, and that's all I'm gonna be thinking about. Like, why? You know what I mean? I don't know if maybe that's just me and you don't work like that, which is probably sensible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch like that, but I completely understand that perspective. And I've thought at times whether or not I should do that, but specifically watching trade like spoilers have never really bothered me. I
Okay.
don't really know why. Like I don't want the end of the movie told to me. Like that it
Yeah.
seems counterintuitive, but I usually view movies, I try to look at them as kind of this grander overall product and sometimes or like piece of art. I shouldn't say product.
Hmm.
It is a product, but I like to view movies as art.
Yeah.
Um, where it's like even if I know maybe some elements about
Hmm.
the story structure, that doesn't often detract from, especially if it's just a good movie, my enjoyment of cinematography, the soundtrack, the acting, what the director is deciding to do with the camera,
Yeah.
whether or not there is a twist that I don't know coming, or just characters in terms of if I can buy in, if I, that doesn't. I have even been the person in the past where like I get halfway through a movie and I'm like, this is I don't know what is going on. Like
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
honestly need to know in order to get me to finish this movie. I don't do that as much anymore, but
Hmm.
so I will probably have some degree of spoilers,
Okay.
but it's going to be the show is going to be more than just talking about movies
Hmm.
because it's a little bit of a love letter to movie theaters, um,
Hmm.
and the experience of going to a third place with other strangers or with friends or whatever, and sitting down in a theater and watching the movie.
Hmm.
Because I love it. It's one of my. It's like I say I go to the Church of Regal Cinemas because I have the Regal Crown Club thing, and it's an absolute steal because I would say that I see multiple movies in theaters a week. It's how I decompress. So it's going to be more leaning towards like the overall vibe. Like I'll
Hmm.
probably be t talking about the people and the
Hmm.
my physical experience there. So there will be some spoilers, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna detail the whole plot of the movie. I
No.
want people to go and see it. Like that's the point of
Hmm.
the show.
Yeah. No, that's first of all, in Regal we trust. Yes, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Even though like I'm a European, we don't have Regal here, but I know of Regal, obviously. And the second, see, like, just to touch on back on that point, like to illustrate where I'm from, where I'm coming from, like there is a trailer for The Brutalist where I've only seen it for the first time. That the
Mhm.
short one, it's like a 1 minute. That just shows like Adrian Brody. That just shows like bare bones of the story, but
Yeah.
doesn't show anything more. And it's just like 1 minute. And I genuinely wish all the trailers were like that. Not 2.5 minutes where we need to kind of, are tempted to show you the best scenes or, hey, there might be a twist coming or whatever. And like, basically like telling you most of the plot, right? I still don't know what Brutalist is about. I cannot, but I don't care. I want to be in the cinema and watch it for myself. I don't want to read it on IMDb. I don't want to let you tell me, oh, it's actually about this. No, no, no. I can look it up. I don't want to. All I know is it's supposed to be brilliant. Adrian Brody. All right, I'm in. Like, that's all I need. And again, to me, it's more like making sure whatever I like it or not doesn't really matter. Just it's a really own my own opinion, and I'll just stand behind that. And that's really how I usually think about movies because yeah, yeah, to me, there's nothing worse when you don't have any unique point of view, especially when you're trying to then discuss movies online, because then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, are you saying anything new? Like in a sense where like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I struggle with that. The reason why I
Hmm.
don't think I have started a show or a podcast or where I or even like writing, like I love to write too,
Hmm.
where it's like I struggle with the idea of just being another white guy on the internet who's thinks that they have something to say about a movie when it's like realistically, especially if it's an older movie,
Hmm.
all the things have probably been said. Like even the hottest of the takes or the coldest of the like it's just all been out there already. So it's like how do you break into an area where it's already like
First of all,
there's
can you stop
so
attacking
many.
me? Can you like stop
Sorry,
attacking
sorry.
me? Like, white guy with a podcast about and just like okay, okay, okay. Like I thought we were friends.
I just waxed poetic about the show that I'm creating, so it obviously
No.
doesn't matter.
No, but like to be fair, like just to touch on this, and in regards with your podcast, I've had this idea for this podcast. It's now gonna be soon 1 year since I dropped my first episode. So, woo. But I've had this
Congrats.
idea. Oh yeah, but I had this idea like a year before that, and I had exactly the same thought in my head. It was like, do we really need another white guy with a podcast talking about movies? And I
Yeah,
like, and I know like I know myself, and I know like I don't want to do this like break down one movie because then I'm like again, if I haven't seen a movie, I'm gonna download it. I'm not gonna listen to it until I watch the movie.
yeah,
So I'm like, I don't want to do this like, one episode we cover this movie, in the second episode we cover this movie. I want to talk to people. I want to talk about all the movies. Like,
yeah,
and just and that's how this became a thing and people seem to enjoy it. I don't understand, but I'm appreciative. Thank you very much.
yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, I cannot wait to listen to yours, to be honest. Like, I'm very intrigued, especially when you like describing it. It just seems all over
I'm
the
being in,
place in the best
I'm
way.
I'm being
Like,
intentionally aloof, and I
yes.
understand that. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it'll come. I think it'll come together in a little. It'll be chaotic because I've never done it before, but it'll be chaotic in a good way.
Those are the best things though. Like, chaotic, sometimes like, controlled chaos, it's the best thing you can aim for, really. Like as long as
Yeah,
it's controlled, like it's with a comedy, right?
yeah,
If there's a comedy where it's like pure chaos, but you can tell it's somehow controlled and there's a purpose to it. Not just, hey, this is a funny gag. This is another funny gag and they have nothing in common. That'll mostly flop. But if there's a control to it and there's a point to it, you might have
yeah,
something on your hands. You know.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
we're giving it a shot.
cannot wait. Cannot wait to listen to it, to be honest. So do you know, is there a movie specifically you want to start with, or just whatever is up next week?
It
Like for your
is
first episode, I mean.
probably yeah. It's probably either going to be Den of Thieves 2, which I'm genuinely excited about because I really liked Den of Thieves 1.
Okay.
Or the Robbie Williams movie where he's a monkey.
Oh, Better Man.
Better Man.
Yeah.
That just hit theaters this weekend, and I
hmm
didn't see it this weekend, but I'm gonna probably
hmm
see it this week. So I would say probably one of those two.
Okay. So there's nothing like, oh, this movie is coming out, it's very close to my heart, therefore I'm gonna tie it with with my podcast launching. It's just gonna be like a random movie. That's it.
I think because of the nature of what the show is, I think that that's kind of hard to do. And
hmm
I would end up, I think if I were to do that, I would end up waiting and I
hmm
would miss some of the movies.
Yeah.
And part of what I want to do is it's like, it's going to serve a little bit like a diary for myself,
hmm
um, throughout the year. So I think that there's part of the accountability is like, I want to do this for every movie. Which is the reason why I want that like first initial episode to kind of get you into it because, you know,
Yeah.
the first movie might be a movie that you're not actually interested in because it's January and
hmm
it can be a dumping ground a little bit. But like Wolfman is an episode that I'm really excited about. I think that's coming out in January.
It is.
And
It is.
so yeah, I mean, I'm not married to a specific like emotional like
hmm
attachment to a movie. If
hmm
anything, Den of Thieves 2 is kind of like that because I really liked the first movie and it's like a very Nash it's very Nash to start a podcast with a movie featuring Gerard Butler.
Nice. Now, like, I still haven't seen Den of Thieves 1, but, like, it seems to have pretty decent rating. Like, so I'm like, okay, action
It was
movie,
one
Gerard Butler. I'm
I
in.
would say it's like an expectations versus reality because a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's a Gerard Butler movie," and people were expecting it to be like fine, and it ended
hmm
up being
Great.
better than they anticipated.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's like Heat or
hmm
something, but I would say it's certainly worth a watch. It's probably way too long, but it's
hmm
worth a watch.
No, I'll give it a shot. I'll definitely give it a shot. Again, I have a humble goal of watching every single movie ever made. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty big
Okay.
watch list. I know. Yes, that's the reaction. Most people are like, okay, buddy, let's go to time to kick
Good
you to
luck.
bed.
Oh man, I think it would be hard to do that and have
Yes.
any semblance of any other thing to do in life. Like, do
Now,
you
like,
work?
I know, like, look, I'm fully aware, even if I'm 33, even if I live to 120, and even if I stop doing everything else and just watch the movie after movie, day after day, and even if all the studios, all the countries stopped producing movies today, I know I would never be able to catch up because just Bollywood, just India is
Yeah,
producing now shit ton of movies every week.
yeah,
Hollywood the same, like Europe, Asian cinema, like Korean, Korean cinema, Japanese cinema. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and just it's yeah. But again, that's why we love movies. We never will run out. We'll never run
No,
out because
absolutely
like
not.
it. That's a great point my ex best friend once made because I was like, oh, it kind of bothers me that I'll die one day, and I might not see this great movie or this great movie or this great movie because there's so much. And then he said, well, think of it the other way around. You'll never run out of great movies. I'm
Yeah,
like, you smart bastard. I like it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you also said you are a bit of a foodie, or like you like food. Which, to be fair, for like dating profiles, I always find it weird. Like, I'm a foodie, and I'm like, so you like food too? Do you like to breathe air? Cool. We have so much in common.
I mean, I would say I don't know about you, but there are plenty of people who I guess particularly where I am in the country, I feel like there's people who are pretty health conscious or they have
Yeah.
pretty restrictive diets.
hmm
And I think that it can be a little bit of like a bastion of like, hey, I am willing to go and try new things. Like that's more of the reason why I talk about it. It's like
Yeah.
no, yes, obviously I love to eat because I want to live,
hmm
but I'm not going and eating the same. Like I'm not somebody who goes to the same restaurant and orders the same thing. I will go to the same restaurant and I will order something different off the menu. Like that's just, and I think that I say that to try to convey that like I don't need to be stuck in a way. Like
I know. I know.
no,
I'm being bit, cheeky with that.
oh
But
no, I know that's the reason why I put it on the
yeah.
profile. Hopefully people can read between the lines, but
But I
that
wasn't
asks
actually
people to
making
have
fun of you. I wasn't actually making fun of you. I was actually going to ask. So therefore, what would you say is your favorite cuisine?
Thai food for sure.
Oh, Thai. Okay. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay, out of Thai food, what would be? I know like you go for like a lot of new stuff, but is there like a one dish that stands above them all?
Well, now I'm thinking. I just realized
Tell me.
It might actually be Indian food because they just had saag paneer the other day, and I
Oh, yes. You cannot go wrong with Indian food.
there's an Indian food place that's right by where I live, and it's dangerous. I probably spend too much money there.
So do you want to change to Indian?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say saag paneer.
Saag paneer. All right. So that's a spinach for all the people who might not know. That's a spinach curry,
Hmm.
spinach-based curry, and
Yeah,
paneer is a type of cheese or like Indian kind of cheese. Like
yeah.
I think kind of like cottage cheese, I want to say. I'm not an expert. Don't come for me. I think it's close to cottage cheese. It's quite nice. It's quite nice.
I I have for some reason always loved spinach, so anything spinach based is has always been something that I love.
I'll say this. I was lucky enough that this year, because of my job, I got to travel to India.
Oh wow.
So, oh no, yeah, it was amazing. And well, the job part was not that great.
Sure, of
The
course.
food and people, great. And so here in the UK, obviously because of colonization and all those great things,
Hmm.
we have a lot of Indian restaurants.
Yeah.
And so I also like this saag dish, like spinach and like based and with like chicken or lamb or whatever. So one of the last days, my colleague and I we went to this like fancy restaurant. We were recommended by other colleague who also went to India before us. And I saw it there. I was like, okay, let me see how it is here. And it was one of the most delicious things I ever had.
Hmm.
Basically, I always say the difference. I don't know about American curry. I never been to America, so but the difference between the curries here in the UK and India, but I specifically been to Hyderabad.
Okay.
The taste is very similar, actually, for me at least, but the flavors, the complexity of those flavors are obviously much richer in Hyderabad. So
Yeah.
like like when you taste the food, you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of similar to what we have where I live, but it's much more complex. It feels like deeper, like it
Absolutely.
just feels like so much more like damn, like
Yeah.
my tongue is having a party.
Yeah, I have. So what I would also say, the American in me is that one of my other favorite just across the board dishes is going to be any type of fried chicken. It's,
Of course.
you know, but specifically, I love Korean fried chicken. And for
Mm.
work,
Mm.
I went to South Korea a
Oh,
few years
nice.
ago, and I had Korean. It was like Korean street food, but it was
Mm.
fried chicken, and it was technically the same thing that you could get in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
restaurant in the United States. But like you said, the the depth of flavor, they're tapping into something over there that
Yep.
that simply does not cross the ocean.
Oh no, like yeah. Like have you heard about McDonald's in Singapore?
I yes, I think I know where you're going with this, but continue. I have
Uh,
heard
so
it's like a
again,
nice restaurant, right?
well, not even nice. It's basically they have a different like for the buns, they have like a different flour. I don't know
Hmm.
how different. Again, I don't know the specifics, but I remember hearing about it. And again, because of my job, the previous year I've been to Singapore for like 2 weeks. And one day I went to McDonald's because I wanted to try it. And holy fuck, just again, good old McDonald's.
Hmm.
But that bun was the fluffiest thing I've ever tasted. I'm like, it
Wow.
was so fluffy, and but it's
Okay.
like kind of still firm, and like I'm like, damn, Singaporeans, you know what's up? Like,
Yeah, I've heard that.
taste. No.
It's on my list of places I want to go.
Oh, like can strongly recommend, especially if you like Indian, because Singapore is this kind of place where all the Asian cuisines combine, meaning
Melting pot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so there are these like places like food markets effectively where you
Hmm.
have a bunch of tables, and if you want to have Chinese, there's a Chinese stand. If you want to have Indian, there's an Indian restaurant or stand. There is a Korean one. There might be American one where you get like a burger, so you can get like one portion of Chinese and maybe like a burger with that if you want. It's ace. Like I had some great Thai food, I had some great Indian food, I had obviously some great Chinese. 10 out of
Heck
10 would
yeah.
recommend. No, would recommend. Like I need to go back with my girlfriend there because yeah, Singapore is awesome. Like just very nice. No, anyway, like see all this talk about food makes me hungry. So let's let's move on. But Indian for you then.
Yeah. Indian.
I'll like it. Like it. So you mentioned you're based in Portland, right?
Yes.
Nice, nice. Oregon.
Or,
I don't think I
hmm.
think you're my first. person in from Oregon. So congrats.
I would imagine so. Honestly.
Wait, is it you and your family in the entire state, and that's about it? I know it's a
Yeah.
small, I know it's a
We're the
small
only occupants. Yeah.
in Nash's family. That's it. Population
Yeah.
12.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
No, it's not necessarily that. It's just that or like the people from Oregon, I would say that a vast majority of the people from Oregon either leave
mhm.
or they're transplants there or they're so rural that they would never do anything like this.
Ah, I see. I
So
see.
it's Oregon is one of those and there's quite a few states in the United States like this where uh, it's one of the larger states in terms of just like land area,
Yeah.
and there are a good amount of people spread across, but the vast majority of the population is in one small area, the Portland kind of Willamette Valley area, and that kind of dictates the policies and politics of the entire state.
Yes.
But the rest of the state is incredibly rural,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's kind of the
So like it's a dense in one spot, but like the entire state, it's like,
yes.
like two people li like per square mile.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, the bottom. Let's get my directions right. The bottom right, like corner where it like touches Nevada over there. That's
Hmm.
just all desert, and I'm the population of like whole counties over there, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a
Yeah.
subdivision of the state. Okay,
Hmm.
sorry. Um,
I'm not that dumb. I know I'm European, but hey, give me some credit.
I no, I just don't. I don't know.
No, I
Um,
know. No, I'm just joking.
um, I don't know. I don't know how the UK is split up either. To be honest, I'm a dumb
We do
American.
also have counties, to be
Is
honest.
it counties? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Well, to be
Um,
fair, I think some people would get offended. I think here they're technically called like councils. Like,
okay.
like, but get fucked, it's counties. Like, it's just, we all know that. We all know that. It's fine. It's fine. No,
Yeah.
but anyway, so you're based in Portland and you haven't left yet, which good for you. Good for you. So tell me why, what is so great about this? Is there anything specific if I were to come for a week? Is there anything so great like you're like, oh yeah, we need to go see this? And food-wise, where would you take me? Or just like, oh yeah, we need to try this place, or you need to try this place.
Yeah. Yeah, this is honestly the question that I struggle with the most because I'm really bad at recommending things. Um, I've lived in a few different places in Oregon.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think I was talking about it earlier. I think I would like to advocate as a whole for the entire Pacific Northwest,
Okay.
truthfully. Um, because it's like, yes, you could come to Portland, and we would have a good time for a week.
Hmm. Hmm.
We could probably figure it out. But I would say that if you are from thousands of miles away and you wanted to make this crazy trip to the west coast of the United States, specifically the Pacific Northwest, like you're going because of the nature element. Like you can kind of tell
Yeah.
how the Pacific Northwest feels like the quote unquote one of the great last frontiers like in the world, and this extends up kind of into Alaska too, where
Hmm.
you can physically like do anything you want, and it's absolutely stunning. It's one of the most gorgeous places to live in my not so humble personal opinion. So I would just say just to experience the waterfalls, to experience the depth of nature that we are surrounded by. I don't, yeah, it's just that's probably the biggest selling point to anybody
Hmm.
who's coming over here. Whether or not, like in the actual Portland area, Powell's Books is one of my sanctuaries. It's a beautiful bookstore, like multi-leveled. Like it's one of those kind of cramped bookstores that have thousands upon thousands of books,
Hmm.
ranging from, you know, just a normal bookstore book to like the most rare copies of certain things. They have like a private, it's called the Pearl Room, and you go in there, and there can only be a couple people uh, in there at any given time. And there's like first editions of Tolkien's and whatever. It's great.
Hmm.
Food wise, PDX Sliders is their hamburgers. Each of their hamburgers are named after a Portland bridge, and there's I think 11 bridges in Portland. Oh God, that's bad. They're building another one. There might be nine, but they're all built after. It's one of my favorite meals that I've ever had is the it's called the Fremont eh, hamburger with some
Okay.
truffle fries.
Mm.
Oh, delightful. Must recommend. Multnomah Falls, absolutely gorgeous. I think it's one of the tallest waterfalls in the contiguous United States. Might be wrong about that. I'm not a travel agent, man. I don't know what you want. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, I'm here because of the people. I'm here
Okay.
because it's a little bit slower paced,
Hmm.
and generally speaking, people are open-minded. People, I like to say that I try really hard to lead with love, lead with understanding, lead with open arms. Like I try really hard not to judge people, and I
Hmm.
would say that in general, that is the vibe of the area, um, which is the reason why I came here and I left and then I came back because it feels like it's a city, but it's a small city and it's
Hmm.
a community. I would also say if you're a fan of sports, like the Trailblazers are a really fun team. It's a small market team that you have a good time rooting for.
Hmm.
The Portland Timbers are great. The Timber Army is wonderful. I mean, it's nothing to compare to
Okay.
international football on the world stage. Anyways, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
I'm rambling.
No, 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 no,
This
no,
is the reason
not,
why I don't do podcasts.
not at all. I was gonna ask. So you mentioned you left and you came back. Where did you go? Like, yeah, where did you travel to? Like, instead of Portland. Like,
So I'm originally from Southern Oregon, and
okay.
then I moved to Portland following high school when I was 17, and I was
Hmm.
there for college, and I lived my life.
Hmm.
In 2020, the world decided to do what it decided to do, uh, I moved to California,
Oh, nice.
and so I lived in the Bay Area, San Francisco,
Hmm.
which was a delightful experience. I would say that honestly, if you can go any place, I would recommend on the West Coast, I would recommend going to San Francisco first.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I've traveled a lot, but in terms of like actually living someplace, my God, it was just Portland and San Francisco.
Okay. And can I ask what made you come back, or is it too personal?
Um, I mean, there is a personal. I don't care. Like I don't
Okay.
know if it's actually interesting to listen to, but I moved down to San Francisco because that was where my sister, who is 11 years older than me,
Hmm.
and her at the time recent newborn son, and I wanted to be closer.
Okay.
But there's just some tension between the element, like other people that were there,
Hmm.
uh, that made it so I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
So I came back to my safe space because, I'm one of those liberals and I need a safe space. Kidding. Just kidding.
No,
Haha.
you need to take care of yourself first, man. It is look, it's not just saying, it's not just like, like something you put on your wall. It
Hmm.
is actual fact. Like you need it's like in airplanes. Make sure you fit your own mask first before you start helping your children or
Ooh,
people around you, right?
yeah,
Because who are you gonna help if you're gonna drown and trying to save people as you're drowning yourself? Like you're gonna help fuck on all. Like no,
yeah,
that you do need to take care of yourself first. And yeah, once you're in a good spot, then you'll be like, all right, let me try to help you. It is what it is.
yeah. And I honestly, I completely agree. I came back here and I would say that my life changed for the better.
Hmm.
My mental, physical, emotional health changed. I changed a lot of stuff about my lifestyle, um, in terms of how I communicate with people.
Hmm.
And I would say that the things that are important to me, the relationships in my life, like those things that I love, like all those things deepened after I came back. So I totally agree with you. And it allowed me to be a better person to
Hmm.
other people. So yeah,
See, okay, before we move on, one more question about San Francisco specifically. Because
great.
again, never been. I hear it's great from you, and I always thought it's great, but apparently it's not. Because if you read some newspapers,
Sure.
there's a homeless people problem,
Yeah.
and there is
So
like it's a very dangerous city to be in, based on some people I know that told me that. So, as a person who actually lived there, what is your side of the story? What did you experience?
I think a little bit of an important backstory in this is I work in affordable housing. So I work directly
Mm,
with houseless populations. I work with people who are reentering society after being incarcerated. I work with people who are disadvantaged a lot, people
mm-hmm,
who are evicted from their homes. So a lot of those people that houseless populations and whatever, like they're the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis all the time.
yeah,
So I would say that my perspective is different. Now,
mm-hmm,
yeah, absolutely. I would say that. I would say that Portland has it, Seattle has it, San Francisco has it, LA has it, where it's just the houseless population is rising and it's unfortunate. And in areas like San Francisco, yes, there are places where it is like crime rates have gone up, which is sad and but it's also a reality. And like I'm not going to stick my head in the sand and say that that's not what's happening.
Hmm.
But I would say that um, to focus on that specifically is incredibly narrow-minded, in my personal opinion. I think that
Hmm.
the beauty of the city and the vibrancy of the culture, the history there, I think that we were talking about the history of like LGBTQ rights. So much of that is based in San Francisco.
Yep.
Um, it's an absolutely stunning just location on the Bay Area. Weather-wise, it's perfect. Some of the like the architecture. It's one of the better food cities in my once again
Hmm.
like it's very melting pot-ish because you have that coastal element. So you have so much of this like East Asian influence into the city. Seattle has this too. But yeah, I mean it's not without its problems. And because the West Coast is liberal, um, a lot of more conservative states have criminalized houselessness
Hmm.
and pushed through various policies. People have been pushed out, um, and those people go to places that are well, specifically like California. Well, they're it's a warmer climate,
Hmm.
and the politics of of the state don't punish them for existing. Wherever you might fall on that, like maybe you think that they should be punished, but it's a lot of
Hmm.
the times I think that it's it's their governments and it's the systems in place that are failing those people. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's not a problem that I mean it's literally my job to address it. That was a long-winded way to answer your question. I don't know if I
No, a long-winded way to answer a question could be a subtitle of this podcast. That could
yeah
be like Flix and Chill, aka long-winded answer to question to
yeah
answer a simple question. The thing is, no, I actually what I was thinking about is like when he's saying, "Oh yeah, the conservative states are punishing people for being homeless or houseless or whatever you want to call it." Doesn't like
sure no 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 it's
I don't do Scrabble. I just for me it's always been homeless. I'm just gonna continue, and I think rather than rebranding the word, let's actually fix the issue. Let's focus our energy where the actually for there not to be the need for the word in the first place.
mhm,
But I was gonna say, as a person who comes from an ex-communist country that
mhm.
also punished people for being homeless, it's kind of weird how many Americans conservatives are very against communism and then behave in a very same way as Communist Party used to behave. Because yeah,
Oh yeah imagine
I'm
that
from
right
a country that if you had no place to stay and you were on the street, go to jail.
yeah
So I'm like, that's kind of fascinating to me how this works.
yeah yeah it's interesting right
Yeah, yeah,
so
just.
I'm a very small pebble in a huge stream trying to help direct the
Hmm.
flow, but you know,
And to be fair,
we
what you
do what
do
we
is
can.
admirable. Like that, what you do, like I genuinely do salute you. Like we do need more people who actually will try to solve this specific issue because
Hmm
it's been said many times, this is not the original thought by any means, but in a country where, like one of the richest country on the planet, for the fact that there are so m- many more homeless people, especially over the past like decade
hmm
in like LA, San Francisco, I'm like, that kind of doesn't jive. Like those two things shouldn't exist, but yet they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in a perfect world, you're absolutely
Hmm.
right. But you know,
Just
the capitalist machine ever so
needs to
churns onward, and
needs
it
to
needs to,
run.
hmm and it
Like, well,
chews
no,
people up.
yes. Will somebody think of the CEOs, please?
Oh, right. Yeah, I know, right?
Well,
Those
Luigi's
people.
already has. Like,
So yes, somebody's been thinking of those CEOs,
have you seen that tweet? It's like, I'm happy to report that if we kill one CEO a day, they would all be eliminated within 2 months. Just saying it, just saying it, putting it out there, and I'm like,
right? Yeah, I
eh,
know.
okay, okay.
And
Oh no, sorry,
it's
not
also
CEOs, billionaires. Sorry,
yeah,
billionaires. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, okay.
it's also just like the hypocrisy of a nation that is racked with gun violence and people, and just kids getting shot in the school, and we don't really care about it. And then
Mhm.
as soon as a billionaire gets shot in the chest, all of a sudden it's a huge deal.
What do you mean
I don't-
you don't do anything about it? Thoughts and prayers.
oh, you're
Thoughts
right.
and prayers.
Oh yeah.
After
Or we
every single one of them, that's all we hear. And it's been working up against now, up until now. It's all good. Have you seen
yeah.
the BoJack Horseman episode? Wait,
Oh
have
my
you
God.
watched
Yeah.
BoJack Horseman?
I haven't watched all of it, but I've seen like most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a I think it was like season four. There was an episode literally called Thoughts and Prayers where yeah
Mhm.
they addressed this specific issue, and the news they were always getting interrupted by like another mass shooting happened, and they're like, and of course thoughts and prayers. Yes, of course thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so painful, but
Yeah. Our default statement. It's
it's like
really awesome.
it's like it's like oh yeah, is it the movies? Is it the drugs? Is it the left? Is it the right? Is it it's never the guns. It's never the guns per capita. It's never the
Mhm.
guns per person. It's never the laws that changed in the 80s, so now we have this issue. Like it's never like that. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like many people, it's always like, oh, is it action movies glorifying violence nowadays? And I'm like, yeah, like the rest of the world doesn't don't get action movies.
Mhm.
Like no, the guns are just much harder to get here. We only had one school shooting here in the 90s, and they were like, "Yeah, we're banning the gun. Not banning, we're restricting who can
Mhm.
own a gun. You can still do it. There's a procedure, and yeah,
Yeah, imagine
all
that,
fine.
right?
Like we have some stabbing issue, like in especially in London. But even that, those statistics are not as bad as some media is trying to tell you. Because again, in America, it's much more more common for you to get stabbed. If you don't get shot, you get stabbed.
Yeah, right?
So like,
Yes.
and also let me just point out one thing. Like with a knife, it's a dark thought, but you don't hurt as many people as with a fucking machine gun. Like,
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
100%.
like
Well,
every time I hear the arguments like, "Oh, should we ban knives now?" I'm like, "No,
I'm
bitch."
fairly certain you're statistically like more likely to survive being stabbed by a knife. And then
Yes.
yes, if somebody is running into a crowd with a knife, there's a chance that he might get a couple,
Hmm.
but like realistically, if that
Yeah.
person's not being taken down after one or two, or somebody punches them in the face, like,
Yeah.
it's over. But you're right. So like this is
Unlike
incredible.
AR-15, unlike if you have an AR-15, like which seems to be the popular choice of all the
Yeah.
people who do that. Yeah, it's like suddenly 60 people just gone. Like like the Las Vegas country, what was it?
Can I
Concert?
can can I tell you
Tell me.
some very sad shit? My
Uh-oh.
sister was there.
Fuck.
My pregnant sister was there with her husband at that concert.
Jesus.
Um, yeah. Somebody behind her got shot from the balcony. Yeah, and she was like 4 or 5 months pregnant, I think.
Hmm.
But she's a nurse, and she was in the military, but she was like helping get people down or whatever. But that was one of those elements where once that happened, it was one of I was like already pretty left leaning in terms of what we need to do in terms of gun control. But once that happened, it's just like
Yeah.
something's got to fucking change, man. Like I waking up to a alert that there's been a shooting at at this concert, and I'm like, oh my God, that's where my sister's at, and then
Hmm.
having the worst 14 hours of my life, not hearing from her. So yeah. Anyways, sorry to make that really sad and
No,
personal,
no,
but
no, no, nothing. No, 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 not at all. Like this, actually, see,
this shit
I
impacts
don't want to
people. Like
say
you brought that up as one of the examples, one of the hundreds of examples, and my sister was there.
exactly, exactly, because again, it's fucking sad. Like I was gonna say, it. I don't want to say it's fascinating, but it is a fucking fascinating issue because like it's like
Totally.
like everybody's pointing fingers and like, is it the movies? Is it the youths? Is it the drugs? Is it this? Is it this? And people are like, no,
Immigrants.
it's
Yeah.
gun. Yeah, oh yeah, oh, of course, yes, of course, immigrants. Yeah. Uh, and and then people are like, maybe the guns. Oh no, 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 gun. No, no, no. We need more people with guns. To catch the bad guys with guns. We need the good guys with the guns to catch. Yeah. And I'm like,
That's inherently flawed logic, though,
well,
because
it didn't work in Uvalde. They literally
Yeah,
were police officers on site. They were too scared to go in because there was an active shooter. We know this. And
yeah,
I'm like, how did this not fucking kill every single police officer or any single school? And then be like, yeah, we probably need to step back on the guns, guys.
yeah.
But no, it didn't. I'm like,
No,
all right,
that's see
just
that we just
nothing makes
have
sense. Nothing
gun
makes sense.
lobbyists that back politicians, so it's never going to go away. We're in hell.
Exactly.
It's fine.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Anyway, since we now solved the gun issue,
yeah, yeah.
we can. I think we can move to this or that. Where I'll ask you or give you two choices, and you tell me which one would you prefer and why.
Yeah.
So, Nash, iOS or Android?
I mean, okay. I mean, I don't have a good answer. I mean, I have an iOS. I've only ever had iOS stuff,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I guess iOS. Sorry.
No shame in that. There's no
Um,
right or wrong answer.
I I think that if I were to ever switch, I think I've been sold that I think Google's phone is pretty good.
Oh,
I've
Pixel,
heard
yeah.
the Google Pixel, and so if I ever were to switch, I would probably switch to that. I don't think I would ever do Android. I don't have respect for Android.
I mean, Google is literally Android, but you know that,
Oh,
right?
is it? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. No, no, I didn't
Google
know that.
developed Android was developed by Google.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, egg on my face. I didn't know that.
No, it's all right. It's okay. No, many people see that's the thing because it's not like Apple where everything is like Apple this, Apple that. It's not Google Android. It's just called Android, but it's been
Yeah,
developed by people from Google. So
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
I know.
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm not an Apple shill. In fact,
Hmm.
I think brand loyalty that like people get really sucked into. I know I was talking
Hmm.
about Regal earlier, uh, but I think brand loyalty is kind of silly. Like, why are you loyal to a billion-dollar corporation?
Yeah.
Like I don't have Apple. I don't have a Mac, and
Hmm.
I don't have any other. I don't have an iPad. I don't have any of that stuff. But yeah,
I always say as long as the product is good, I don't care about the brand. Like give me a good product. If
yeah,
you know,
absolutely right. If
if
I
I
have to
have
pay
a
$500 for a
yeah, yeah,
game system or whatever, like it better just be a good game system. I don't give a shit if it's
exactly.
Microsoft
If
or
it breaks down
PlayStation.
the second day, I don't care
Yeah,
if it has a Apple sticker on it or if it has a Google sticker on it or like fucking
yeah.
Sony. I'm not gonna be happy. Just as long as it's reliable, as long as it's like does what it says on the tin, as we say here,
Mhm.
I'm fine. Like that's all. TV shows or movies?
Oh, movies for sure.
All right, all right. I had a
Yeah.
feeling, but I just thought like what? Let's check.
So one of my goals in 2025 is to watch more shows. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, like when I have to, the majority of my friends, like IRL people that I spend time with, like
Mm-hmm.
they are all show people. Like they love watching shows, and they're always like, ah, I just like I can't sit down and do the 2 hour movie. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
but you can. But I find it so more daunting, like so much more daunting to watch 8, 10, 12 hours of a show,
Yep.
and whether or not that be binged or over the course of a week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's really hard for me to get into a show, and I am a completionist. And so if I
Same.
start a show and I get through season 2 and then it's still going, I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Like I want more. But I love television. There are shows
Mm-hmm.
that I absolutely love, but I just don't dedicate my time to it. I'm going to try to watch more of the shows that I need to. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, like Severance and
Oh, yes.
um, I've heard really good things about Silo. I need to catch up on. I
Same.
need to catch
Same.
up on like prestige television. I'm really excited
Yes.
for Andor season 2 because I think that Andor season 1 was great. But I'm a
It
movie guy through and
was.
through.
It was. It was. You're speaking the true truth now. Like, yes, that's
Yeah,
that's that's some good shit. And like we just gotten my girlfriend and I, we just gotten like a 3 month trial of Apple TV
yeah,
because
that's what I got you.
she is, I wouldn't say Apple shill, but she has all the Apple stuff, so maybe a tiny bit. Well, she doesn't listen to this podcast, so it's fine. And so she just got the latest iPhone, like after like 3 years. So she upgraded,
Mhm.
and like we still get like 3 months of Apple TV. So we are finally closing on the third season of Ted Lasso because I've heard so many great things about Ted
Oh yeah,
Lasso.
I have to watch that too. Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good. I'm not sure about the third season where it's going, and like
Mhm.
there's a subplot. I'm like, really? But okay. But the first, like, it's such a like I understand why in 2020 that was the show where the world needed, and I understand why it just took off because like it's just so
Absolutely.
fucking positive. It almost makes you want to puke at times how positive it is, but it's very charming.
Yeah. Speaking of Apple TV shows, have you seen Shrinking?
See, no, that's on my list. That's so. When you were mentioning Severance, I need to watch that because I heard great things about that. I need to watch Silo exactly like Rebecca Ferguson in anything. Yes, please, give me, give me,
Hmm.
give me. And I heard great things about Silo. And again, Rebecca Ferguson, give me, give me, give me.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
Shrinking isn't like Shrinking would be the third one. Like I do definitely want to watch Severance and Silo first. Like
Yeah.
and then like a Shrinking would be the third one. But I also heard decent things about that, so I can't wait. Like no, yeah, but don't worry, I'm gonna make all my money my not, well no money worth of the 3 months free.
Hmm. Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
A tea. Absolutely.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. It's been a while since we had a tea person. How do you have a specific brand or specific style of tea?
Um, so not really. I have always hated coffee. I will drink
Okay.
coffee when I need to, but the taste of coffee I think is awful. And then to add sweeteners to it to make it palatable, like you can do that, but I'm like I would just rather drink some other sweet thing that
Yeah.
tastes better than, you
Hmm.
know. So if I'm given those two options, I'll take it. I'll take a tea. I've tried to work really hard to cut out caffeine consumption.
Okay.
So I don't, you know, I will usually go towards a tea with either no caffeine or a light,
Hmm.
like lower caffeine amount. But I'm not picky whatsoever. I'll like I think I have like a bunch of I think I actually right now I have green teas in my cupboard, so and that has caffeine in it. But you know, I'm not picky.
No,
Like
green tea is ace.
jasmine,
No, no.
jasmine. So
Hmm. No,
I'm
green tea
not.
is ace. Like that's I like that too. Like occasionally. But I am
Yeah.
a more a coffee person, so like
It's
100%.
also it's kind of sacrilegious because Portland is kind of known for its coffee,
Oh
and
yeah.
I just don't I just don't care.
Look, is it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Only thing I would say, there's an asterisk I always say to people. There's a coffee and there's a coffee. And it's if you're used to like just an instant stuff and not so good coffee, or like your chain coffee like Starbucks and all that, you might want to try to go to like a fancy schmancy, posh, pretentious coffee shop
Yes,
and like do like a filter or something like that. And
that
that
that's valid.
might change your opinion. Like, might not. You might change. You might taste it, and I'm like, that's still shit. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And valid, fair, fair. But many people, like my girlfriend, when I started to date my girlfriend, she was also like you. She was not coffee person at all because she's been used to the instant shit. And then I got into coffee during the pandemic, and
Yeah,
I have my own like nice coffee grinder. I spend decent money on, and then like I buy beans from this roaster that's like all over the world, from like Ethiopia, Kenya, Colombia, all those like
yeah,
nice beans. And when you make cup or two, and then you taste like how it can taste, how you have a notes of this fruit or this and this, then even she's like, this is pretty decent coffee. Like she's still more into teas. But like now when we get like like we are traveling someplace and we stay in a hotel where they have instant and we have instant after a while, even she's like, yeah, this is fucking shit. I cannot
yeah.
wait to get home and get proper coffee.
I would that's totally fair. Like I would say that in terms of like high quality coffee that I've actually had, it's not been a lot, but I
Hmm.
have had some and it's still not been. But I will say that I had very similar opinion on like wine
Hmm.
and it like in the past couple of years I went to like some really high fancy schmancy like
Hmm.
vineyards and was having some like, oh okay, I understand why people like the notes are different like when you
Hmm. Hmm.
actually find the art like the art of the coffee, the art of the
Yeah.
making the wine, like then it's like, oh, okay, I see why people get into this. So, I mean, maybe I don't
So
know. I just,
you are now into wine, or like do you appreciate wine more now?
yeah, I mean, I won't. I'm not a big alcohol drinker,
Hmm.
but if I were to drink alcohol, wine is now one of my probably one of my go-tos.
White or red?
I'm a red, yeah,
See, I was gonna ask you because here's the thing, right? With wines, I am on this board where I've tried so many white wines, and I think my palate is decent, but they all taste the fucking same. They are all
yeah.
acidic. They all taste like if it's Sauvignon or if it's this. Something is a bit sweeter, something is more sour, but like the underlying profile is no matter if the bottle is like slightly higher up or slightly lower, it tastes to me the samey. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I'm sure I'm wrong. Again, people will please educate me. I would love to be educated. But when it comes to red wines, I've had some I'm like, I don't know. And then I had some amazing red. I'm like, holy fucking shit! I would buy all like the vineyard, like
Yeah.
if I could, because that's some excellent wine. And I'm like, I don't drink wine, but if I had to, red would be my choice.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at too.
See, so yeah, so okay, I get we get each other. I like it. I like that. Money or free time?
Money or free time?
Yep.
I mean, it's tough because obviously what I want to do in my free time needs
Hmm.
to spend money, but I have always said, not always said, as an adult, I have adopted the personality of what I think is honestly a more European approach to work
Hmm.
is that work is important. Obviously, you gotta go to work and you gotta pay your bills and you gotta be able to feed yourself and pay your rent and pay
Hmm.
utilities. Like, obviously, that's all important. But like, I will never be a person that makes work my personality. And even like, I'm afraid of turning my passions into work because I don't necessarily want to marry the two. Like, I think that free time is important.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that I am not what I do. Like I know I talked about it earlier, but
Hmm.
I think that Americans in particular have this like hustle mindset where it's like, oh, I got to work for 40 years and I got to hustle and I got to hustle and I got to hustle and then I'll retire and then I'll be able to have my free time. And I'm like, no, I think that is a waste of life to me. We can get
Hmm.
a little bit like,
Hmm.
that's not a waste of life, but I watched people in my family do that for generations. I watched people around me do that. And I just don't, I would much rather have free time and do things that I love with people that I love and care about, try new things, whatever. And hopefully I have the money to do so, but
Hmm. Yeah.
work is important, but it comes second or third or fourth or fifth, honestly.
I 100% relate to that. And just on a side note, I think it's your generation because I think you're very close to my age. Like I'm 33. You
Yeah,
don't have to say your age.
I'm
It's fine.
29.
See, so young bastard. Um, so I think it's your or our generation that's kind of slowly changing that mindset. And a big part, I've said it before, is the internet because it used
Totally.
to be much easier to sell this lie where you don't have to have more than 1 or 2 weeks paid holiday. No, you'll retire and then you'll be happy after.
Hmm.
And now, like because of the internet, people of our generation are Americans of our generation are kind of like, well, the entire Europe can have 4 or 5 weeks paid holiday every single year.
Hmm.
Their economy is not collapsing.
Yeah.
Most of European states are doing fucking well. They are very happy people. Like, of course we have our struggles, yeah, but it's
Work-life balance is not usually one of them.
Oh, exactly. Like, look, you definitely look. Do we have problems here? 100%. No, no place is perfect. But
Mhm.
like, I had a dream when I came here. I'm like, I'll stay here for like 4 or 5 years, and then I want to move to New York, right?
Mhm.
And then the more I stayed here, and the more I learned about the healthcare system in America,
Socialized medicine.
and then of course like 2015 Donald was certain Donald was stepping up and like becoming more and more prevalent, and I'm like, you know what, I think I'm good here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not perfect, especially the weather here is shit, the people lovely, the weather absolute fucking bollocks. No, just not good. But like, I'm not afraid to go to hospital. I'm not afraid to get fucking shot on the street. Like,
Yeah.
I am fairly like, live fairly safe life and a fairly happy life. So I'm like, yeah, I'll enjoy my like 6 weeks of holiday I currently have at this job I do. Um,
6 weeks, bro.
yeah,
My
almost 7. I'll have like 33 days, like paid. Yeah, no,
wow.
it's I can recommend 10 out of 10.
Okay, great.
I'm, I don't want to
I'll
rub
get
it
on
in.
that.
No, but genuinely, like, I don't even want to rub it in. I would like this to be fucking default for all of you guys
No, please do. Please do.
because
I'm happy for you, genuinely. Like
and
I'm
I,
glad
I
that
and I genuinely would like this to be for you guys because like I do, and that's why I always say I do admire you. And I know it sounds kind of patronizing, but it's not. I do admire that you still have that hustle bullshit mindset, and some people are finally breaking through it. And I'm like, no, this is bullshit. We can do better. And
yeah.
unless until more and more people actually tries to do better, it's not gonna change.
Hmm.
The revolution will be televised. All I'm gonna
Yeah,
say.
it absolutely will.
I
It'll be
think I
streamed on
know the
TikTok.
correct. Well, yeah. Well, no, Donald will now cancel. It's fine. It's
I
it's not
don't.
like it's not like he made the issue in the first place and now he's gonna fix the issue. It's not like that at
Yeah.
all. Like,
I,
wake up, wake up, sheeple.
hmm.
No. I think I know where you're leaning to your next one, but let me hear it. Honesty or other people's feelings.
Uh, well, okay.
Hmm.
What do you think I'm gonna say?
No, you first.
No, 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 no. You made it. You have painted me.
I'm not painting you anyway. I
Yeah.
just from listening to you, I
I
have my guess.
Honesty is obviously important,
Of course.
and I will stand by that. But I
Hmm.
think that leading with empathy and with an attempt to um, understand a person's perspective and where they're coming from,
Hmm.
and then over time potentially dissecting why they potentially are interacting with you in a certain way or they're interacting with the world in a certain way gives
Hmm.
you a greater understanding of them. I think it can give you a greater understanding of yourself. I think it can teach you things. So I would say feelings are important.
Hmm.
I'm not. I don't make it a habit to lie to people,
Hmm.
but if I'm like uncomfortable in a situation, and I will potentially hide the fact that I'm uncomfortable in this situation because I want to I want to work with them and make sure that they like we can kind of maybe meet middle ground. But once again, this is a big part of my job.
Hmm.
Um, they say things to me all the time that I just have to be like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't maybe don't agree with that, but
Hmm.
I think I don't know. I think that's how relationships and you exist as a human being. Like if you are
Hmm.
closed off and you are brutally honest, and I think there's a line there between like you're honest for the sake of being an asshole because
Hmm.
you just want to be a piece of shit and you want to just say all of your opinions.
Hmm.
So I would say the feelings element, but it's
Okay.
a
That's
good person does both. You weigh
yes.
both and you try to approach a situation with both, but
Hmm.
yeah.
For the record, that's what I was gonna guess. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I
For the
figured.
record. No, and again, but like again, this is no shade. No tea, no shade, no pink lemonade, nothing like
I've
that. No, no, no.
I've
Just
never. There can be shit. I don't care. You can have your opinion.
no,
You're a nice guy.
it's all good. Like, look, I'm always leaning with honesty, but as you say, I've through my life being a very honest person, you learn that you need to adjust it to depending on how who you're talking to. Some
Yeah,
people prefer brutal honesty. I'm one of them.
yeah.
Like if I talk to somebody like again, my personally, and I know not many people are like me, shouldn't be. That's fine. But like, if I feel like you dancing around something and you're not telling me something, and just trying to be like, give me like non-answers, I'm calling you out. Like I'm like, okay, let's cut through the bullshit. What do you actually want? Because like
But
I feel uncomfortable because I can tell from certain people like, okay, we're dancing about this issue or around this issue, right? Like let's be adults. Let's talk about it. But then again, you need to adjust it based on who you're talking to. And I've
I
learned
also
that
think
lesson.
I also think that having two people like that, like you being
Hmm.
the brutal honest one and potentially me being somebody who can dance around people's feelings, like I
Hmm.
think those types of conversations between those two people are really interesting
Yes.
because if I'm dancing and then all of a sudden you're brutally honest and be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Hmm.
and be like, "Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Like I'm trying to be sensitive to potentially something that," and then we can actually have a conversation about it.
Yes.
And the honesty then begets understanding the
Hmm.
feelings of
Hmm.
like why you're angry, why you're sad, why you're
Yep.
happy, why you're enjoying it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Again, to
think
have self-explored life, to live
yeah.
self-explored life and self-aware life. Like,
Hmm.
as long as you know yourself, as long as you know what makes you tick, and what makes you this way, this way, this way, this way. Like, yeah, that's all I really strive for, and I think I know myself quite well. So that's why I'm like, I don't lie to people. If you ask me a direct question, I'll give you a direct answer.
Hmm.
The problem is many times people don't like the
Don't
direct answer
they
because
don't
they
want the
they
direct
think
answer, yeah.
oh, okay, maybe, and I'm like, okay, answer is this. Oh,
Yeah.
damn, that's very mean. I'm like, okay,
You asked,
don't
man.
ask me, don't ask me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I if I have, I always say this. if you're like a very close friend or family member, I have too much respect for you to lie to you.
Yeah.
If you're somebody I've met for the first time, I'll obviously I'm not gonna tell you something to your face that will make you uncomfortable because no, I'm not. I'm not that big of a dick. Like
Yeah.
I understand social interactions. So like, but again, like the moment I consider you close person or close friend, then I'll be like, okay, this is kind of bullshit. You realize what, like, I don't know, what are you doing here? It's kind of bullshit, right? And then we
Yeah.
can have an honest debate about it. Because to me, that's only how I work. If I actually value you as like a very close personal friend or a family member, I wouldn't lie to you, you know.
Yeah.
And it,
Respect.
again,
It's a good
and it,
it's a good philosophy.
that's just how and again, I don't expect anybody else to live like that. I've learned not everybody thinks like me. That's a big lesson also. Just because you do something like that, that doesn't mean the entire world needs to follow what you do.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, self-explored life. Self-explored, like understanding that not everybody's like you. It's a big part of like, like if everybody would actually understand that, I think the world would be a much better place.
Oh,
Just a
certainly. Because then
penny,
you're not trying to convince, like other people are trying to convince that other
yeah,
people, like
yeah,
the way they're living their life is wrong or the way they
yeah,
think is wrong, as opposed to just like, ah, I just don't agree with you, but
yeah.
you're a different
Like
person than me. Yeah.
exactly. Like, I don't understand many people, but hey, do I not want them to live their way?
Yeah.
As long as they don't are not hurting anybody, as long as they what they do they want to do, not my business. Not
Yeah.
we have saying here, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't know if you guys have it in America.
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. Just live and not live.
Yeah.
Summer or winter?
Uh, hmm. I mean, honestly, it's pretty 50-50. Like
Mm-hmm.
at the tail end of both seasons, I live in a place where I'm pretty lucky to get 4 seasons. Like a lot of people don't have four
Mm-hmm.
seasons. At
Yeah.
the tail end of both, I'm ready for the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think winter can be more isolating, and because of the nature of like it gets dark at 4 p.m. and
Mm-hmm.
I would say summer by an edge.
Yeah, yeah. So, and what is the summer like in Portland? Like, is it like a nice hot summer?
Yeah, I mean, pretty. I would say it's really lovely.
Okay.
Because of climate change, it's getting warmer. But like for instance, it's the middle of January, and I think it's like 50 degrees outside right now, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Last year it was like 18 degrees. Um, but it's pretty temperate. I would say that for the average summer day is anywhere between like high 70s to like the high 80 range. We'll usually have 2 weeks of like 95 plus. Like we might get
Mm-hmm.
into 100 for a couple days. But so much so that a lot of buildings in Portland don't have air conditioning in them because,
Oh,
I mean, realistically, you would only need to run it for like
a month.
if that,
Mm-hmm.
like open a window and you're probably fine for a while. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say that very nice. I would say that the
Okay.
summers are very nice.
Okay. Probably the most important question of all,
Okay.
ninjas or pirates?
Ninjas or pirates? Ooh, you're right. Great question. Great question.
Thank you.
Let's see. Well, see, in like popular culture, I think that pirates have an edge because I think that like bad boy element is just, it's alluring.
Yeah.
And it's a lifestyle that, I can't necessarily see for myself, but like if we were in a world where I either had to be a pirate or I had to be a ninja, I would think I would rather the unrestricted lifestyle of a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love boats and
Okay.
sailing. And so, I don't necessarily love the idea that like I don't bathe for weeks on end, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. I think I can get over that. Ninjas, I feel like the quiet element is interesting. I feel like it's more of a um I feel like it's a much more internalized profession.
Mm-hmm.
You're so much more based in secrecy. You're usually probably on the side of like probably more lawful good as opposed to chaotic. I'm saying all these things because I haven't made a decision yet. Ninjas have cooler weapons.
They do,
Hmm.
yeah.
Fuck it. I think I'm gonna be a pirate. I'm going with
Okay.
pirates.
Okay. So, what about the rum? Do you like rum?
I mess around with some rum. I'm not gonna drink it straight, but I'll mix it with some Coke or something. And
As we all know, plenty of those on a pirate boat, like rum and
yeah,
coke next to each other.
yeah, right.
And the last
Oh,
question. Free will or destiny?
Um, Free will.
Mm, okay, okay. So you don't believe you're predestined to do anything. So you are in charge of all your own life fully.
I believe so. I mean, I think that the systems in place end up dictating your life and therefore
Mm-hmm,
taking choices away from you. And I think that there are people in various circumstances that have less free will than other people because they just simply they're disadvantaged or they're in situations, they're in governments, they're in societies, whatever that
mm-hmm,
dictate it. But I think ultimately, yes, we are beings with free will that are designed to be able to make decisions for ourselves. And no, I don't believe that there is a predestination for really
mm-hmm,
any of us. I think that there are people and organizations that would like to make you believe that
mm-hmm,
sometimes, and a sense to control. I think that whatever. I think that people who believe I think that people who believe that like destiny is like they have a destiny, they're destined to do something. Like if they believe in
mm-hmm,
that, that's awesome. But I don't necessarily do that. I think that I have control over all of my actions, and if I wanted to,
mm-hmm.
I almost went super dark with it. Never mind. I'm not going to do that. But
Okay.
like I know my choices will have repercussions,
Mm-hmm.
and
Correct.
and I'm if you are okay with that and you balance risk versus reward, and yeah, I think there's free will.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Uh,
free will at least.
Fair. That's fair. Just a follow-up question. What are those organizations you were alluding to before? Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
Enlighten me.
Oh, okay. The Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
uh, religion, basic organized religion as a kind of like a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I think various political parties base their beliefs on or their stances on in the legislation that they want to put in place to govern maybe half the population's bodies, or yeah, I mean those are the organizations that I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's like, oh, because God says it's this way, and because you are here to serve a higher power, and I'm like, I don't believe that to be true myself. And if you do yourself, I think more power to you. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need that in my life, but some people do. But that's more what I mean.
I genuinely think if there is a God and like heaven and hell, I genuinely think the hell will be so full of people who believe they are the most Christian people you've ever met. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I like the shit many people say and do in the name of Jesus, God, whoever. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You say that you've read this book he co-wrote, the Bible, and that's the lessons you took? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Okay. All right. That's all I'm
I
gonna say. That's
Yeah, I
all
would
I'm
agree
gonna
with you.
say with that. But yeah, okay. Free will it is. Before we move to the flex part of the podcast, would you
Hmm.
like to share some hot takes or opinions you might have with us?
I feel like it's kind of fun. I feel like I've said some of my
Okay.
like more ostentatious opinions. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep it pretty low key. I mentioned this is pretty topical right now in the United States, and you
Mm-hmm.
might not give a shit about this whatsoever. But obviously the NBA is a really big is
Mm-hmm.
one of the major sporting organizations of the United States. A lot of people watch it. A lot of people around the world
Mm-hmm.
have players. Like I would say that the best players in the NBA right now are Nikola Jokic from Serbia, and
Yes.
uh, Giannis from Greece, and
Mm-hmm.
Luka Doncic. But
Croatian,
there's been
I
a lot,
think.
yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about like the ratings going down and the NBA product as a whole, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think genuinely, if you are a fan of basketball, which
Mm-hmm.
you probably aren't, I don't know if you are, but
Yeah.
um, I think that for people who like the fundamentals of the game, like watching the game, like watching just competitive basketball, an incredible product, I think
Mm-hmm.
the WNBA is way better than the NBA right now. I think
Okay.
people who compare the sports, like, oh, there's no 7-footers in the WNBA. They're not dunking, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, but I think that comparing the two sports is unfair because people's bodies are different.
Hmm.
There's a difference between how the men and women are approaching the game. I think it's a completely different game. I think the way that they play is
Hmm.
um, delightful. And I think that for my money, I would rather sit down. I would rather get season tickets to watch Caitlin Clark jack up a bunch of threes
Hmm.
and dish out 15 assists and be absolutely dynamic on the court than get season tickets to the NBA, which is, I would say, a hot take because
No,
the
I,
NBA is
I
one of
think
the
that
big three.
classifies 100%. So, as a person who I've seen clips of the game and I
Hmm.
know some like the biggest names, of course, like Jordan, LeBron, all those
Yeah,
people, right? So,
Steph Curry. Yeah.
yeah, excuse me. Exactly. So, what you as a fan, obviously you watch both NBA and WNBA, right?
Hmm.
So, and you alluded to this in your previous statement that obviously the game is the same, but it's different because women approach it differently than men, all that. So, what's the main for me as a non-fan? What like if I were to ask you, what's the biggest difference? Obviously, it's played by ladies, but it's played by men. But okay, but
Sure.
what's the key differences and why, in your mind or in your in your view, it's women do it better?
So the WNBA feels more like an older fashioned NBA that a lot of people are like, ah, we need to get back to this NBA
Hmm.
because it's I would say that the WNBA game feels more like a team game. You can
Hmm.
score from anywhere on the floor, and you can have somebody like a Caitlin Clark on the team who can jack up a three like Steph Curry
Hmm.
4 feet behind the 3 point line. But then you can also have her driving in the lane, dishing, and doing a 2 point floater, or like backing down in the post and doing like laying it in, or like the art of creating a shot
Hmm.
um, in the WNBA feels more fluid, feels more like all five members on the court could touch the ball, and then the ball will go in the net and it'll be a great play. Whereas the NBA, there's hot zones where it's like they shoot the three or they're underneath the basket.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's not fun to watch because, yeah, you get a 7 foot 1 dude slamming the ball on top of like that's great, whatever. But
Hmm.
it leads to like 145 to 127 point games and the like defense is down and it's harder to guard against the guy who's going to jack up a 3 point shot from 50 feet away. And I don't know. That's more
Hmm.
what I mean in terms of the dynamics of the game feels very much like a well-rounded basketball product as opposed to we have like in a video game we've maxed out one specific statistic to
Yeah.
level 10
Hmm.
and everybody's just spamming the same thing and it's like okay well yeah everybody's there's all the best players in the world all doing the same thing and it's like okay I'm
Yeah.
if I have to watch 80 games of that of my favorite basketball team it's just it grades it's just it's not something that I want to tune into every single night whereas in a WNBA game you could see something different you could see wins in a different way you can see really competitive on-ball defense anyways yeah, I'm
Hmm.
saying a bunch of stuff.
No, no, no. That's good because I asked you to say a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff, so I'm happy about it. So, am I correct in saying that what you're basically suggesting is the men NBA is kind of because of those issues getting boring and predictable, whereas the WNBA is actually more like not anything can happen, but it feels more lively and more as the actual game.
I would agree with that. Yes. Yeah. I
Okay.
think that that's a good summation.
Like as Harry Styles once said, describing "Don't Worry, Darling," it's this movie feels like a movie, you know.
You're right. You're so right. Wow.
It's such a great movie because it feels like a movie. No, 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 like, but no, I actually totally get what you mean. I do get what you mean. It is fascinating how it's changing, like how now the ladies are like stepping up or not stepping up. They have the more like chances, they have more sponsors, they have more of a like actual building where box they can build on,
Yeah.
right? And hopefully the fans will show up because any kind of sport, if the fans show up, you get
Yeah.
higher salaries. If if fans show up, you get sponsors. If
Yeah.
they don't, like I never understood the pay gap in the sport, like how it's always been controversial. And I'm like, well, but it's dictated purely by fans and by sponsors. So if if let's say football, if Ronaldo shows up, you will sell out any kind of stadium in the world because there'll be a bunch of people just wanting to see Ronaldo. Doesn't matter the team he's playing for right now. They just want to see them. Whereas if you we need to have, or women need to have that kind of player to have that kind of pool. We're like, oh yeah, she's in town. It doesn't matter what she does. I'm fucking there. You know what I mean? And so I never like. So I'm hoping.
First of all, I
I'm
do think that that's happening right now. I think
Yes.
that I think Caitlin Clark is doing that single-handedly for the WNBA, but I think that the
I
people
would
from
also
the
shout
Major
out
League,
Angel Reese. Like I've heard a lot of good stuff about Angel Reese.
yeah,
She's also
Aja
very
Wilson
pretty.
is also great.
Hmm.
But I would agree with you. You're not wrong. I do think that a lot of the times when the pay gap stuff is being talked about, that often falls it's a failure of their employer.
Hmm.
I don't like
Yep.
I think that it is I was just listening to Alex Morgan,
Hmm.
who on the women's national team, and like she was one of the champions in 2022 when the women's
Yep.
national team got paid the same. And she was like, that was so bizarre because I was fighting against who was employing me, and we're like the fans were showing up to our games. We were
Hmm.
winning World Cups. Like we were
Hmm.
like especially in the United States, women's soccer is in several states more popular than men's soccer, and
Hmm.
yet that they weren't being paid enough. And you're talking about the sponsorships, you're talking about people showing up to the game, advertising. It's because the people who were supposed to be doing it weren't doing it justice.
Hmm.
They were dedicating their resources to the men. But anyways, so it's like you're right. Like
Hmm.
we need to create fans, but I think that the fans will show up if you
Giving them
invest any
time.
amount of invest
Yeah.
any amount of money and time into it, and
Hmm.
then it's like all of a sudden you see what you have now. And people were playing in like 2 years ago, WNBA teams were playing in front of like they were playing in like college
Hmm.
facilities and or maybe even high school facilities with maybe a couple thousand people in it. And Caitlin Clark was selling out arenas this year.
Yep.
People were showing up; they wanted to watch her play.
Hmm. And that's good. Like they like again,
Yeah.
WNBA and any women's sport, they need like look at Serena Williams. The moment she
Oh my
stopped
God.
playing, right? So the moment she stopped playing, not only suddenly many other women finally got their chance to win a Grand Slam or two because like she
Hmm.
wasn't as dominant.
She was the
Uh,
goat. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, but also like like it became a bit more unpredictable, a bit more chaotic. But and many people were like, oh well, now it's shit because there anybody can win. But I'm like, no, it's not shit. It's actually good to have like no clear like top dog or top
Yeah.
women for this example. That yes, we've had like like Osaka had a year that she was clearly the dominant one. We've had like what's the Aussie one who retired, Barty.
Hmm.
She was like there was no catching up to her that one year. And now like Czech ladies, ooh, like speaking of like tennis, Czech man absolutely fucking hard. Well, now we have like two decent new guys, like young guys, so maybe. But a couple of years later, absolute dog shit. But Czech ladies, if you're in fan of tennis, and you're not rooting for Czech ladies, what the fuck are you doing? Because like we have, there was a one point where we had like 9 players in top 100, and I'm like,
Wow.
no, yeah, we were like number two right behind America, really. And like again, the population of America 340 million, population of Czech Republic 10 million. No,
That's
it's
crazy.
no, like no, Czech
Wow.
ladies, that's where it's at. Like, when it comes to tennis, like, I'm every time they won't win something like Wimbledon, French Open, I'm so fucking proud. I'm like, yes, you show them, ladies. And I'm like, men, fucking take notes. Like, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah.
Like, like, the fuck.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
absolutely.
so, and again, if they win and if they bring the audience, pay them. That's all.
Hmm.
And, but to my, like, other point, many people, what they forget, it will take time. NBA didn't become NBA overnight, right?
No.
NHL didn't become NHL overnight. Like they had to build on years upon years where people. gotten used to, oh yeah, if I want to watch great hockey, ice hockey, NHL. If I want to watch great basketball, NBA. So you need to let them build like allow them a couple of years to build the fan base.
Yeah. And the proof is in the pudding in terms of like we have three new expansion teams in the WNBA that are scheduled. It's probably going to be more. Like it's coming. It's happening.
Hmm.
Um anyway.
No, that's no, okay. That was nice. Any other hot takes you would like to share with us, or do you want to move to the flex part of the podcast?
Uh yeah, we can move on. We
All
were
right, sir. So
rambling for a minute.
that's great. No, I love rambling. So we have arrived where we are all been waiting for. Talk about flicks, aka movies, for
Hmm.
us like cinephiles. So if I were to ask you, Nash, what is the last new movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything 2020s onward, what would you say?
So I did want to ask, I probably should have asked this pre-show. So
That's fine.
is this just the last movie I watched that falls into this category that
Yes.
I did rate 5 stars?
Yes.
Or just generally? Okay. Um, the last movie that I watched that I rated 5 stars post 2020 was Scrapper.
Okay.
It's a movie from the UK. It came out last year. I watched it because of I don't know, Robert and Foster from Civ Pops. They have their podcast.
Also see,
Also
yeah.
also see, and I was on the Allskers for
I
them,
that
which
was a fun episode actually. By the way, I did listen to that. That was a fun episode. Make
yeah,
Oscars
and
happen.
yeah, and I watched Scrapper for that the first time almost a year ago,
Hmm.
and I absolutely fell in love with it. I think that type of movie, it's basically a father-daughter movie. Harris Dickinson is in it, who is blowing up right now. He's
Baby
an
girl.
Iron Claw, Baby Girl, yeah. He's going to be I think he's one of the Beatles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But so he plays this young girl in a debut performance. She's like a precocious 8, 9-year-old, and she kind of lives alone because her mom has passed away. This all happens in the first like 2 minutes of the movie. I'm not spoiling it, I promise.
All right.
Um, and it is just, it's one of those just like earnest character movies between like it only has a couple people in it. It's written beautifully. Some elements of surrealism that's tied into her like imagination because she is a child.
Hmm.
And her like developing relationship with this like kind of estranged father who has kind of come back into her life, who's also figuring out how to be a father. It's beautiful. It's funny. I love like British movies have a warm place in my heart in terms of my cinephiledom.
Okay.
Like when I was in college and I started watching movies, I just started falling into like a lot of British period movies and then
Hmm.
British comics. Like I watch a lot of like panel shows and I love watching
Yeah, yeah.
those British comedians show up in shows.
Hmm.
So it's great. So I would say that that's the last. It's very Nash. Like it's not a perfect movie. I know it's not a perfect movie,
It's
but I think
fine.
that in terms of my objectivity, I've watched it
Hmm.
twice now, and
Wow.
like I watched it in 2023, and then
Hmm.
I just watched it again recently, which is the reason why. In terms of like new movie that I watched the first time and rated 5 stars,
Hmm.
it would be Challengers.
Oh, nice, nice.
But to answer truthfully, it was Scrapper.
That was my question. I was like, wait, so you said you watched it last year, like a year
Mhm.
ago, and I'm like, really? Like there was no movie in 2024 you haven't rated, like you've never like haven't rated more than like 4 out of 4 out of like 5 out of 5. I was like, damn, you're strict. I was so
No,
surprised.
so my philosophy generally, this is just, and it's also personal and subjective and
Of
silly,
course.
and letterboxed is whatever. It's a game basically, but I will not usually rate a movie 5 out of 5 after the first watch
Oh,
ever,
you're one of them people. Oh, I see.
unless I have some sort of visceral reaction
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
holy shit, this broke my brain in a way that was good. And I
Yeah.
think Challengers did that for me this year. I watched it and I was like, I've never been more like this is I'm so glued to the screen right now, and it was hypnotic in a way that I was like, this deserves 5 out of 5. I will do
Hmm.
it on like first time watches of like a movie that I know is a classic. For instance, this isn't going to get mentioned, but this is a relatively recent movie that I saw for the first time, Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, nice.
Great movie. Saw it for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, I see why this is considered a classic 5 out of 5. Like I can do that." But for like a
Hmm.
newer movie, it'll get a 4.5. Like even Dune
Part two.
Part One and Part Two,
Hmm.
both of them initially were 4.5. I rewatched Dune Part One, gave it 5. Dune Part Two still has 4.5, but like I don't know. They it 4.5 and 5 operate in basically the same space for me. It's just,
See, this is so funny because I would like to like stop a podcast and talk about the ratings because I just had a conversation about this with our friend Shane Conto yesterday,
mm,
where
nice.
we like because I am very if you go to my letterboxd, you will see that column for 5 out of 5 is quite big because
Hmm.
I am a genuine believer in you need to rate the movie on its own merit. Meaning, if I watch a stupid comedy that's delightful, stupid, and funny, and it makes me
Hmm.
laugh a lot, and I really don't have anything bad to say about it, I'll put it 5. Like if I watch like a scary movie, right?
Hmm.
Perfect example. Is it objectively, quote unquote, it's an art. It's not objective, it's subjective. Is it objectively 5 out of 5 movie? No.
Hmm.
Is it the same 5 out of 5 I would give to Shawshank Redemption or fucking whatever you want to be 5 out of 5 challengers, whatever? No, but within that spectrum, within what it was, what it was aiming for, why would I not give it 5 out of 5? And that was always my struggle with people, not you specifically, but
Oh
I
yeah.
know a few people in Sitpop who operate on that kind of. They are very sparing with their ratings, with their like high ratings, and I'm like,
I am definitely not sparing. Like I will, if I like a movie, like there's a movie called Crush on Hulu. It's a Hulu original,
oh,
like high school uh comedy,
mhm,
and it's like a coming of age comedy. And I've seen it 4 times, and the average rating is probably 3 stars.
yep,
I have it at 5 because
nice.
it's incredibly rewatchable. Like when I'm sad, I'll just put it on and it's great. So it's like
Hmm.
I'm not sparing with it. I think it's just that 5 out of 5 operates just my spike isn't tiny, but four
Hmm.
and a half and 4 are big spikes for me
Yeah,
because I like a lot of movies. I want to
yes,
like movies. And
yes.
so yeah,
No, no,
I
no, I
get it.
get it. Like, look, and I get it, and I actually appreciate that because I am genuine. Like, that's why I would never call myself a critic. First of all, I didn't study film by any
Me
means.
neither. Yeah.
But I always call myself cinephile because I love movies. I love movies, and I want to love all the movies. And again, if you look at my letterbox and how many movies I rated, 5 out of 5 or 4.5, it's a decent chunk. Some of them probably are from like my teenage me from 12 years old, where I imported my ratings from IMDb. And if I were to rewatch them, they probably would go down a bit, but not all of them. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And to me, I've always said I would much rather overrate a movie by a bit than underrate it. Because I feel like,
Interesting.
because to me, you know why? Because the more I see people, or because of the internet, talk about movies, there's plenty of negativity anyway.
Totally.
There's plenty of bullshit anyway. So like, and I want to love every single movie I watch. I
I
do.
love that. I love that philosophy. I also don't look at myself as a critic, and I
Or
have one of my words that I like to, or well, like my phrases I like to kind of say is I try to approach every movie because it probably is true that every movie is somebody's favorite thing. Like
100%.
it's like I can watch it and hate it, but somebody watched this and loved it. Somebody
Yeah.
is like, "Oh my God, that was my favorite thing I saw," and I'm like,
Hmm.
so I try to put myself in the shoes of who that person might be.
Yeah.
Like somebody is watching this and adoring it. And sometimes I can't do that. Sometimes I'm like, this is fucking dog shit. And if you love this movie, I'm sorry. But by trying to put myself in that place,
Hmm.
I feel like it leaves you a lot more open to 'cause being negative about movies that's not as fun for me as talking about why I love
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So I get
And
it.
and again, like the opposite is also true, by the way. No matter how great you think a movie is, there are a
Somebody's
bunch of
gonna hate it.
people. Exactly. Like I know people who hate Shawshank Redemption. I know
Mhm.
people who hate Pulp Fiction. I know people who hate The Matrix. I know people like name me a big movie, and I've probably met a person who actually like, oh, I fucking hate that movie. I know in a real life, I know many people who don't like or don't care for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's universally beloved trilogy. It is what it is.
Yeah.
No, but like like I do appreciate this WeChat. Like I do because again, many Sito people I sometimes struggle with how their what they write and then the rating because
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, you've written like 4 paragraphs of like how you like this, you like this, you love this, you love this, and it's like 3 out of 5. I'm like.
Yeah.
Something doesn't like something doesn't
I
mesh. Something doesn't mesh here. Like I'm sorry, but like if you or if you speak about a movie on a podcast and you're like, ah, I adore this movie. I love this. Like it was so great. And then like look up your rating and it's like 3.5 out of 5. And I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
now you're calling me out.
No, genuinely not you. No,
No, no, no,
genuinely
no,
not
no, no,
you.
no. Oh no, I am one of those people though. I'm definitely one of those people. There's been plenty of times where I've made a movie 3.5 stars and I've just written all the things I liked about it.
Mhm.
But that's what I mean. Like, who am I to be the guy who to talk about the reasons why I don't like a movie and why the reason why I put it at 3.5? Because it's like I'd rather just say the things that I like. I like the performances. I like the soundtrack or whatever, and that's what I end up doing. But you're totally
Ah.
right. You're totally right.
So wait. Wait, I never actually considered that. Therefore, with your reviews specifically, or your letterbox comments, whatever you want to call them, because I know some people don't like to call them reviews. Is it just you don't like to highlight the negative stuff, so you just highlight the positive, and that's why your rating is what it is?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. I mean,
Okay.
I think I struggle because I'm not a filmmaker.
Hmm.
I don't the process isn't seems incredibly hard. There's a lot of people involved, and
Hmm.
for me
Hmm.
to be a loser on the internet who just happens to watch the movie and be like, "Ma, I don't like that." Like it just didn't resonate with me. I'm not gonna I have a hard time critiquing something that it's like, well,
But at the same
like
time, let me challenge you on this. I also am aware we shouldn't be professionals because at the end of the day, the movie is there for the moment it's out, it's for anybody to judge. Doesn't matter if it's filmmaker or not. Like if you're a postman,
you're so right.
if you're a postman, you should still be able to tell me, oh, challenges was shit, and here's why. Or if you were a nuclear scientist, it doesn't matter what you do. Like, like it doesn't matter if you do this profession, if you make movies, if you don't. No, if anything, we are removed from that. Meaning, we should be the most quote unquote objective people because we are removed from that object. We don't know many people. Well, I don't know any celebrities. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you have Zendaya on your speed dial. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, no.
But like but that's why 5 stars for challengers. Maybe like look,
Yeah.
I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just
I'm a Zendaya shill. Yeah, you caught me.
to be fair, like who isn't?
Yeah.
It's in the movie. Like like somebody asks her, like it's very hard not to love you, and I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
you're right. Yeah.
That's like that dialogue. If you cast Zendaya, that dialogue writes itself. Like is I know there are some people who hate. I'm like, why? And then
Hmm.
I hear reasons, and I'm like, yeah, you're just racist piece of shit. Okay, next. No,
Yeah,
fuck
right.
that. Anyway.
I I'm not afraid to be critical of a movie. I will
Hmm.
be critical of a movie. Like I have some of my go-to critiques often that will
Hmm.
that will pop up. But it's more just like oftentimes it'll be a movie that I know like isn't for me technically, where it's like it's
Yeah.
a historical drama and it's like it's well acted
Yeah.
and it looks pretty good, but it's like I don't, I'm never gonna watch this movie again. I don't really care. And there
Hmm.
are elements that I didn't like about it necessarily because of me, but
Yes.
I don't feel like sometimes those are worth listing. Just because it's like I would just be
May
I
I
would just be
say
negative for
it is worth listing. You know why? Because people do follow you, right? There are many people who follow you on Letterboxd, let's say, and they follow you for your opinions. So I would actually want to hype you up and say they are actually worth listing because, yes, it's specific to you. It's only your opinion. Same as one of my opinions is my opinion. That's fine because that's why we have our own opinions. But people who follow you, they actually follow you for a reason. So
yeah,
that's why I'm always think like, I many times like I see who I follow on Letterboxd and it's like 2 stars, 2 stars, 2.5, 3, and I'm like, all right, here I go with my 4.5 again.
Mhm.
And I'm like, all right, I'll be the dumbass, be like, I kind of liked it. I don't know. Don't hate me. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that I mean that's fair, and I think I just um I'm so steeped in self-loathing that I just like
You're talking
no
to the
nobody
self-loathing
wants to
master. Look,
yeah.
girl. No, I
Oh
get you.
man.
I get you. It is a hard line to walk. It is a hard line to, like, I totally understand. Sometimes I'm finished. Isn't there any worst feeling in a world where you finish a movie, you don't know nothing about it, and you're like, oh, that was a banger, and then you log into Letterboxd and it's like, 2 stars, 2 stars,
Mhm.
average rating 2.6, and you're like, am I dumb?
I'm fairly certain I got somebody. who is in one our shared community mad at me because I said something kind of similar to that on the last episode of the Sif Pop episode I was on.
Ooh. What did you
Um,
wait, what did you say? Wait, remind me, what did you say?
it was in regards to Emilia Perez, and which is I know a controversial movie, and it's
Uh-huh.
not a movie that I even really like that much, but people were coming at it with a level of vitriol
I've
that
noticed.
I was like, I don't like it. Should it be like nominated for all these Oscars? Like maybe not, but like and there was there was just some specific that if I would go back in time, I would probably rephrase how I said it,
Mhm.
but I have definitely gotten the cold shoulder from a couple people because I it
I
was kind
cannot
of
wait to watch that movie because yeah, that movie, especially in our little community, it seems to be quite divisive. Because I know
yes.
there are a few people who rate it like fairly high. Most of it they didn't, and
Hmm.
I cannot wait to see it for myself. Like again,
Yeah.
I know it's about something about trans people, and I know Zoe Saldana is there and Selena Gomez, and
Hmm.
actually some sort of trans actress actor. I don't know, don't care,
Hmm.
because again, I don't want to know about a movie. I want to see it for myself. I want to be
Can I,
surprised, and I cannot fucking wait because like you know, I want to know where I land on that spectrum because like
can
yeah,
can I ask you a quick question?
of course,
So you listen to the writers' room, Sif Pop writers'
of
room,
course.
but they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to the review roundups with Robert ever?
Yes, but if there's a spoiler talk about a movie I know I want to see, I'll delay it until I've seen the movie. So, for example, in my queue, in my app, podcast app I use,
Yeah.
there is this writer's roundup from July because there is a spoiler talk for Maxine I still haven't seen. So if
Mm.
there's no spoiler talk, I always check the notes, and I'm grateful, Robert. Thank you. If you listen to this podcast, great, thank you. Also, thank you for the notes. That you know, there's actually like spoiler talk about those movies. And if I know, like, there are some movies I don't care. Like, if it's like based on the true story, like I know the true story.
Hmm.
So like, there's nothing, you know, like if they're gonna make another 9/11 movie, I'm not gonna be like, oh, look out for the spoilers.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know how this is gonna end, sadly. And that's the kind of so that's how I approach it. So and I know there's a spoiler talk about that Wolverine that apparently got quite heated, and there's a spoiler talk about Maxine. And again, I haven't seen Maxine yet. Once I do, I'll just put it on, and so I can actually not go to the movie not spoiled. And after that, I'll be like, okay, well, let me listen to what they have to say.
Hmm.
Again,
Okay.
that's just I know I'm quite unique. I'm a very unique person. I've been told many times. I've been called much worse than unique, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Same.
Anyway, so what is the last teen quote unquote movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything between 2003 and 2019.
Yeah, so I went back through my I was going back through Letterboxd and I was
Hmm.
using that as my resource for this. And the last one would be War for the Planet of the Apes.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. I think I rewatched all of those movies in up to lead up to the what was it?
Kingdom,
Rise?
No,
Kingdom,
Kingdom
sorry.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Planet of
Kingdom.
the Apes.
And I was just floored by I mean, the first one's okay, and then I was just floored by the second and the third one. I think that they're
Hmm.
exceptional, and a lot of people like will say that like I think a lot of people think the second one is their favorite, which is totally valid and fair. I just think
Hmm.
the the overall complete narrative journey of Caesar in those movies, specifically in War, where you've seen them?
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Okay. Where it starts you right in on the action and it's just horrific, basically. Like he
Hmm. Hmm.
experiences great loss and it juxtaposes his journey to that of Koba in the previous movie. And
Hmm.
then the course, like I feel like there's no fat in the movie. I feel like that it's really tight, it's really tense, it's really emotional. It's very funny. Steve Zahn as Bad Ape is incredible. And I was just it's 5 out of 5 kind of for the overall trilogy, but I thought that as like a ending button to the end of the trilogy, I was like, this is great.
Okay.
It deserves 5 out of 5. And that was one of those circumstances where I think I gave it 4.5 at first,
Yeah.
rewatched it, and I was like, this is great. There's no reason why this shouldn't be 5.
See, okay, this is interesting because like I am one of those people who I loved the first one, like the Rise,
Mm-hmm.
because like Dave messed up the apes before horribly, so this was a pleasant surprise that it wasn't messed up.
Tim
And I'm
Burton.
one of the few people you will meet who I'm like the second one was kind of okay, and but I'll say this, and the third one I think I'm 4 out of either 4 or 4.5. I remember liking it. I don't. I remember I had some hesitation about it, and I'll say this: I want to rewatch the entire trilogy, kind of like you did, so to see if I still am as low on, especially the second one, because I know many people love the second one, and I've only seen
Yeah,
it once in a cinema, and I thought this is quite predictable movie. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, all right, this happened, okay, cool, and nothing like nothing like stuck with me, but that was only when it came
interesting.
out, which is like 2014, 15.
Hmm.
So I have not seen it since. I haven't rewatched it, so I actually want to rewatch the entire trilogy because, like, where do you stand on a fourth one, or well, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Whether
I was a fan. Like I
okay,
like
okay,
when I think uh Robert and I have kind of gone back and forth about this one
hmm
a little bit. Like
hmm
I was I don't think it's as good as it might be on par for me as Rise as the first one.
okay,
Um, but and it's not as good as Dawn or War.
hmm
But I was really into it.
okay,
I was a fan. Like it's not without its faults in my
hmm hmm
opinion, but I think that I was invested the whole time. I would watch it again. It was I
hmm
think I saw it in IMAX, and so I was it was
Oh,
popping.
nice,
And
nice.
those, I mean, I think I'm a sucker for a good CGI ape, I guess.
Fair. Like to be fair, like the CGI was really good. Like I'll say that. I'm not. Yeah, I'm one of those like Kingdom like did not hit me whatsoever. That kind of missed me.
I
So
think it's I'm in the minority for sure on Kingdom.
I think it's very split, actually. I think if we take the general consensus, it's still fairly above IMDb and Letterboxd. I think it's fairly well-rated movie. It's not as high as yes, as you mentioned, it's not as high as the previous trilogy, but I think it's actually you are the correct one, quote unquote, and I think people like me are in the minority because I think overall people still enjoyed it rather than disliked it.
I
So.
don't. Yeah. All right. Interesting.
But yeah, like okay, but yeah, I need to rewatch it. Like, but War, I remember again watching it once, and I thought it was very good. It was very good. So like, I had my like some I don't remember, but I there was something that was stopped me from 5 out of 5. But I did enjoy myself. And again, the first one I loved, but it's been since 2011, and of course, I don't know how I would react now to it. So I need to
I
rewatch it.
think I liked it. I liked it when I first saw it. Honestly,
hmm
and this isn't. This is without all of the off-screen stuff. Like James Franco kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in that movie. Like I feel like if it was a different actor, I think I would like it a lot more. But
See, I feel like it does it stick out because of the James Franco of it all, or does it stick out because to me, like I remember watching in 2011, and he had a moment there, like he had a moment where he was shaping up to be the next leading man, where like 127 Hours is an excellent movie, or pretty much all about him, right?
Mhm.
Then he had made this movie, and I'm like, damn, this dude like is on an uprise, and then he continued for a bit, and then the James Franco of it all kind of came out, and I'm like, ah, for
yeah,
fuck's
I'm not.
sake.
I'm a human being. I'm not without my biases.
hmm hmm
And like, yeah, I mean, if he's a piece of shit, he's a piece of shit. But it's just,
hmm
I mean, there are piece of shits in movies that I
Love.
like their character.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I don't know, he just seemed really wooden
Okay.
and he's like specifically in juxtaposition with John Lithgow, who
hmm
plays obviously his father, and John Lithgow has moments with Andy
Caesar.
Serkis with Caesar,
hmm
and I'm like, oh wow, that's impactful stuff. And then the I don't know, James was just didn't hit for me. But
No, look, fair. Again, you're the person who's just rewatched it. I'm the person who's watched it in 2011, so 14 years ago. So I am not really arguing with you whatsoever. I'm just like, I
crazy that was
really
14 years ago.
tell me about it. Fucking time flies. But yeah, I remember like, yeah. No, I need to rewatch it. I do need to rewatch it because I want to sort my thoughts about this trilogy because I do want to give it another, especially the second one. I want to give it another shot because
I
I
also
must
think
have missed something.
I think I bar none like with apart from like Lord of the Rings and
hmm
I don't know like wherever you might fall in like the original Star Wars, like I feel like the that Planet of the Apes trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies
I know
in
many
great
people
history.
do feel like that nowadays, and again, like once I rewatch it, I might be there. Like
Yeah,
we'll see. Like it'll be interesting
would
to
wreck.
rewatch it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what is the last adult movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything between 2002 and 1975.
Just because of the holidays, it was planes, trains, and automobiles.
That's a great fucking pick.
Yeah, which I think it's a perfect movie. I watch it probably once a year, right
Hmm.
around the, because it is
Thanksgiving.
technically a Thanksgiving movie, even though
Hmm.
I don't really care about Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
I think I think it's a picture perfect movie. I think it
Hmm.
makes you laugh. It makes it. I mean, depending
Yeah.
on your mindset, it can make you cry.
Hmm.
I love a road movie.
hmm
John Candy, Steve Martin at the height of their powers. Is that
hmm
John Hughes too?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
it's
I
just
think early John Hughes. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's. I will say that's one of those American classics that actually translates to beyond America, because there are
Hmm.
some holiday classics I'm like I don't get it, so I would probably have to be American and brought up on these to actually get it. Fine, no, that's a me problem. Fair.
Yeah, like nostalgia ties to it,
Yeah,
or
like nostalgia or like Perfect Story. I don't know how you feel about this. Haven't actually checked your rating on it, so I don't know. A Christmas Story.
oh, hey, I'm not
Because like I've only watched it for the first time 2 years ago, I want to say now. And I heard
I
so many things about it, so I was like, I kind of looking forward to it. And I'm like, this is very fucking weird movie. And I
it's
wasn't ready for that quirkiness of it all, I guess.
I that movie. I agree with you. I think that the movie is mid as hell, and the only reason it has the legacy that it has is because
Hmm.
it's called A Christmas Story, and
Hmm.
it for so many of us Americans, it played for 24 hours on one of the channels,
Yep.
and so it was just like be on in the background because there was nothing else planned, and so
Hmm.
and it has like moments, but I got that movie. You're
No,
right.
like it's not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not like a piece of shit. Not by any means. I just thought it was very average. But again, I am conscious enough to say maybe it's just not for me, and it's fine. Like
Yeah.
like maybe I just missed something, which happens a lot of times. I'm a dumb individual, so hey, like it can happen. But to my point, Planes, Trains, and Automobile, I watched it only once, and I'm like, damn, that's a great fucking movie. Even if you know, like, not even know, even if you can guess the quote unquote twist, it still doesn't take anything away from the impact of that
The
scene.
journey. Yeah.
And again, Steve Martin, when he said on his feet, I think he's still on his feet. Like, I don't know if you're watching Only Murders in a Building,
Oh,
like that
yeah.
man, first of all. He's been the same all my life. He's kind of like Sean Connery. Like once you stop, once you reach your level, you stop leveling. I feel like that dude barely aged in the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, I
So
mean, him and Martin Short are they both
yeah,
operate in that space.
exactly. And Nola and him with John Candy and just like, him being the annoyed one and just, on his last nerves, every single scene just works so beautifully. And then ultimately that message about like family and how you don't know what the other person is going through, even though they may be trying to tell you, it's I like totally understand why that is a classic, and I need to rewatch that as well, but I know I love it.
Hmm.
That's a great choice.
Thank you.
What would be the last old movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything 1974 and older.
Um, I just now I have to double check because I want to make sure that it came out before then. Yes,
Hmm.
Sidney Pollack's Jeremiah Johnson.
This is so funny. Okay, I haven't watched this one, but our our friend Shane, I do another podcast with him, Wasteland Retrospective plug, shameless plug, and Wasteland Watch List. And for the watch list, we just watched the Yakuza by Sidney Pollack that was
Hmm.
filmed after this one. And we mentioned because he mentioned Jeremiah Johnson yesterday when we recorded it. So I'm like, this is so funny. Okay, I haven't watched
That's
this one, so tell me about it.
I mean, I it this is one of those where this is a nostalgia tie-in for me. For some reason, this is a movie that I watched when I was a kid and
Okay.
I was enamored with. It's not flashy, it's pretty
Hmm.
slow paced. It's Robert Redford is basically on camera the whole time, and there's very few other people in it, and he's just this wilderness man, and
Hmm.
it's contemplative. I feel like it has a lot to say about living your life, and it also happens to give us one of the greatest reaction gifs of all time, or gifs of all time. The
That's
Robert
what
Redford
we've talked
nodding.
about it. And
Yeah.
like how many people still do not, including me, I had a hard time process this was actually, Robert Redford and not Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean that's not Zach Galifianakis in a fucking wig? How is that Robert Redford? What?
Yeah.
that's not him, and it is him. So that's the only thing I know about that movie, that GIF or GIF. Yeah.
Uh, Robert Robert Redford might be might be one or two in terms of my favorite actors of all time.
Mm.
And I just
Solid choice.
it's I don't know, it's just it's the type of sometimes a really contemplative thought. Just it's just about living in America in the frontier and the
Hmm.
challenges of being a human being and existing in that time frame. And I don't know, it's just really beautiful. It's shot really gorgeously. The snow pops off the screen.
Hmm.
I just watch it all the time. I watch it probably once every couple of years, and it's for how really not exciting it is. It's kind of
Okay.
crazy, but I love it. It's I would recommend watching it. You might be like, this is some American bullshit,
No,
but
look, as far as me being cinephile, I'm open to any single movie ever. Like genuinely,
oh
like
yeah, no.
I don't have a genre I would dislike. I don't have a, the only thing I always said, like I can occasionally struggle with like historical drama, period
Hmm.
drama, meaning like pretty dresses. People living in 18th, 17th centuries, having problems we've already surpassed. So like,
Hmm.
oh, I would like to marry this guy, mother. Oh, we cannot because he's not he's not worthy of you. Oh, well, that's sad. I'm gonna kill myself now. Thanks. And it's the movie. And I'm like, I get it. This used to be the thing, right? And I occasionally struggle with those, but again, I love many of those movies too. So like, yeah. And Jeremiah Johnson, like I know again, Sidney Pollack. One
Hmm.
like he is a great director, great actor, by the way, also, but great
Hmm.
director. I love his movies, most of them. Even the Yakuza one, like actually very, very good movie. I would recommend if you haven't seen.
All right.
And even though it flopped in the box office, but yeah, no, it was very good. Okay,
Okay.
okay. So Jeremiah Johnson,
Hmm.
that's so funny. We do live in a simulation, honestly.
We do.
This is insane. So, what is your favorite movie decade?
I'm gonna give you a cop out answer.
That's fine.
The current one, honestly, whatever decade we're currently in, I
Oh,
love
okay.
I I love movies, as we already know, and I could give you 100 reasons why
Hmm.
the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2010s, I have a lot of love for movies from all sorts of decades.
Hmm.
And I think there's objective, like the 70s are have like I think if you go on Letterboxd, I think the 70s is the highest rated decade.
I
Um,
think so, yeah.
but I think what makes movies fun is to see how they're going to change and adapt and move forward. And yes, we have a lot of sameness now, and we have,
Hmm.
like modern blockbusters are oftentimes remakes and whatever. Like, I don't want that necessarily, but
Yeah.
innovation is in stories and ideas and the types of characters we're seeing on screen. I yeah, it's great. Like one of my favorite movies of 2024 was Dee Dee. I don't know if you've
I still
it's
haven't. I heard of it. I haven't watched it. I still haven't, but I heard great things about it. Yeah.
and it's just like I don't know, like that feels like a movie that feels distinctly of this decade. Like it doesn't feel like a movie
Hmm.
that you could have gotten before, the type of story that's being told. And so yeah, I guess that's my kind of cop out answer. It's like
Hmm.
wherever we're living now, it's like I
No,
want
no,
to
but
progress moving forward. And
if anything, that's original answer because I don't think anybody like I think several people did say like 2010s, right?
mhm,
But I don't think anybody said basically, now, like and gave this kind of argument because I do like that. I do. Only thing I would say like all the decades because you said like it's very reflective of day and age we live in.
mhm,
The only thing I would say is, well, every decade is reflective of that because that's why like 70s movies have its own aesthetic and like
mhm.
are more like rougher, more like raw. 80s is kind of more considered with like, hey,
They
boobs and
lean into the
cocaine.
bombast, yeah, the bombast a little bit
Yeah, yeah,
more.
yeah, like boobs, cocaine, like manly men, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. We have muscles on muscles on muscles and steroids and boobs and a lot of more cocaine,
Hmm.
speedboats, you know, speedos, all that shit. The 90s is like this kind of like Renaissance era, like indie cinema.
Hmm.
Quentin Tarantino is coming to his term, like Kevin, Kev
Kevin Smith.
Smith. I was like Kevin James. No, Kevin. No, no, no. I was like, no, they're not
Oh,
Kevin
Kevin.
James. Different Kevin. But yeah, so like every decade is like, and that's why I love going back to like 60s, 50s because like it tells you something, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable what it tells you about that decade. Like Holiday Inn.
Oh my God. Oh,
Well, what if we, you know what? I was thinking about it. What if we did this number in blackface? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And they're like, oh no. And then they do. And I'm like, yeah, this used to be common, unfortunately.
hmm Yeah.
I'm like, oh damn. But in a way, do like it because again, I feel like if we forget that, we are very doomed to repeat, not only to repeat it, but
Oh,
then to think, oh no, we always been great. Like, what are you talking about? Not being great. We
I
always been great.
I completely agree with you, and that's the reason why like I don't want to make it seem like oh I only watch new movies. Like I don't watch only new movies. Like I make
Hmm.
it like I think it's important to watch. Like I
Hmm.
think if we were to take out the 2020s as a decade, I think I would probably say the 90s is my
Hmm.
favorite.
Hmm.
It's probably the decade that I've seen the most amount of
Yeah.
movies from. But yeah, no, it's important to go backwards because
Hmm.
the reason why I'm excited for the innovation that is coming is because of the shit that they did in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the
Hmm.
actors, the directors, the cinematographers, the John Williams, like whatever, like all of the elements of the movies. I
Hmm.
love to go back and see like, oh, this is how they were doing it. And this is why we now have a camera attached to a tennis ball and we can do that because
Yep.
we were doing this shit in 1967 and
Hmm.
you know
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
completely agree with you so
No, like again, and correct, correct. Like, I do like your answer, by the way. Like, really like the answer you gave about that. So, do you have any movie hot takes you would like to share with us?
um yeah this one this is a hot take thing it's
But
just
no,
whatever
I'm
i uh
sorry.
I think the idea that we argue over the objectivity of art, specifically movies,
Hmm.
is at its very core, we've talked about this already,
Hmm.
patently ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, I think they're I think people get so inflamed and
Hmm.
invested in their arguments about why something is good and why something is bad, and they give their reasons why, and maybe
Hmm.
those reasons are valid and they're valid to them, but people like get mad at each other. People scream at each other, especially the
Yeah.
online discourse.
Hmm.
And it's like what makes people people is the ability to have an opinion and then do like your experiences in your life inform your taste.
Yes.
And if you don't like something, it seems so quick for a vast majority of people to be like, "Oh, I don't like that. That's bad for this
Hmm.
and this and this reason." And then the
And
people
if
who
you
say
like
yes,
it, that makes you dumb. Or they're like, I don't understand you. Why would you like this piece of crap? Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that movie discourse is in so many ways exhausting and an exercise in futility because it seems so rare that you can you have an opportunity to actually we shouldn't really be convincing people that their argument is wrong, and I feel like
Hmm.
that's what so many people are trying to do. So I know this is maybe not really the answer you're looking for, but
No,
I
no,
was like really
no.
struggling
I'm
because
looking for what you think. Like, I'm not looking for specific answer like again, I'm looking for what do you think, and that's what you're giving me. So I do appreciate it.
so it's like I guess it's almost like picking apart the idea that there's a movie hot take because
Hmm.
it's like
Hmm.
yeah I mean something that I might think is a movie hot take is the coldest take in the world or something
Hmm.
that's completely wrong or for to somebody else because personal taste is cool like I
Hmm.
like that's the ability for me to be like oh I don't really like the Matrix that much for this and this and this reason
Yeah.
like and it's one of those universally loved movies that you could probably point to. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's
No, and again, I think the same applies kind of with like Oscars, for example. Like soon
oh my
we are
goodness.
recording, so this episode will drop past Oscar nominations, but we are recording pre-Oscar nominations, so we don't know who's been nominated, right? And I will have my takes on, oh, this person should be nominated, this person shouldn't, all that, once it happens, of course. But, but, can we just make it like, for example, that we have one day where we have those takes, and then we just fucking move on and we actually deal with the fact that some of our favorites were not nominated, some of our not favorite people were nominated, and whether we think this is wrong or right, it happened,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it. Like,
Awards are movie awards are so crazy, dude.
yeah, no, exactly. Like, look, I think. now the Oscars are getting it more better than they were in the past, I
Hmm.
would say. But again, am I happy with all the decisions? No. Do I, for example, like recent example, I don't understand how, I don't know if you've seen the movie Decision to Leave.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that wasn't made for best foreign movie. That blows my mind that that was omitted.
Well,
And then
that's the thing.
how the director who made Oldboy and Handmaiden and all those great movies has never been nominated ever.
Hmm.
If you
Yeah.
told me 20 years ago, like, and I did say, like, 20 years ago, like, when I watched Oldboy and I watched, like, his stuff, I was like, oh, if there's ever a South Korean person who can win an Oscar, it'll be him. And it's Bong Joon-ho who actually did it first. I'm happy for him. And then there's a Park Chan-wook who's amazing in everything he does. And he produces banger after banger after banger. And Academy's like, yeah, we don't know you. Who does? New number,
Yeah.
who does? And I'm
Yeah.
like, but again, so like I was sad about it for a day, and then I was like, okay, we have those five international features. We'll deal with those. Cool.
Mhm.
And that's it, right? Like,
Yeah. Completely agree.
so like, yeah, just I do agree with your hot take that we shouldn't judge people based on what they like or they don't like.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
do.
mean, I hope, I hope we're moving in a good direction in terms of
Hmm.
like pivoting off of the Oscars too, because it's like it's crazy that like Catherine Bigelow was the first female to win
Oh
Best
yeah.
Director in like 2009 for The Hurt
Hmm.
Locker, which is,
Hmm.
and then so it's like hopefully we're moving in a direction where people are a
And
little
ever
bit
since
more.
then, we've had quite a few women, winners, like,
Hmm.
Jane Campion, Chloe Zhao, we've
Hmm.
had quite a few since, and there will be more. Like again, before nominations, I have no idea. I will say I don't know if it's a hot take. If there's a justice in the world, because my opinion is the only correct one,
Hmm.
I would love for Coralie, French name, I cannot
Oh,
pronounce her, for the substance.
yeah.
I like no matter how you feel about that movie, and I know some people are not as high on it as I am, fair, but like that movie is directed so fucking well.
Hmm.
And and I know like many people are like, they now saying, "Oh, Demi Moore has Oscar in the bag." No, I don't
Oh,
think.
absolutely. I don't think that's true at all.
And the only reason I don't believe that, and I only will be happy when I see her name actually on the paper as, best actor nominee or actress nominee, Demi Moore. Academy hates fucking horror,
Hmm.
and they don't appreciate horror movies, and that's still a genre horror movie. And that's what makes me concerned because like people are like, oh yeah, she finally won a Golden Globe, and I was so fucking happy for her. And people are like, oh yeah, she's a front runner. I'm out. I really hope so. I'm not gonna start celebrating until I see that next Friday, Demi Moore, and I really hope that will happen. I genuinely hope it will happen. So
Yeah.
like that's again my 2 cents. If they're like I would definitely have Coralie French name. I'm sorry, I'll learn her name next for next time. It's just very hard to pronounce
I don't know.
because she is amazing, and I am so in whatever she does next. What like if you want to make a documentary about whatever, I'm there. Like I'm paying the ticket. I'm supporting you because even her previous movie, name escapes me. It's a revenge or yeah, revenge. I think it's a revenge movie. Ace, so good,
Hmm.
very good. I don't know if you saw that one. It's like
I've not.
2017. Yeah.
I'm actively adding it to my list right now.
It's what I admire about her. Just to be on a bit of a sorry for making this a long already long podcast even longer. What I really love about her directing styles is she brings, for a lack of a better word, the sexy back. Meaning she has a very strong vision of women can be sexy and still be multidimensional. They don't
Yeah.
have to, because many Hollywood people or American people, I'm sorry, they see it as almost like a sin. Oh, we cannot make her too sexy because then we wanna objectify her. Sexy people know they're sexy,
Hmm.
and they strive in that. And
Yeah.
like specifically in Revenge, she knows she's sexy. The main woman, she knows what she is, and she gets quote unquote punished, and then she fucking takes off. And the more how she takes off is like, yes, you fucking go, and yeah, something happens, and it's like it's a wild ride. And again, those two movies alone, just I'm like, she's got a new fan. She's got a new fan. I'm so happy, and I hope I don't see her getting nominated, and I genuinely hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. Like, I think Demi Moore maybe, Corelli probably not, just because Academy is a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, I
And I
think I
really
think
hope I'm wrong.
if I have a can predict, I think
Hmm.
Demi has the best chance. And I think before Coralie, I think that the substance as a whole has a chance to be nominated as one of the 10 best pictures.
I
Um,
think maybe, yeah,
I because
yeah.
it's a relatively it kind of feels like a relatively light year in terms of like the really really good stuff, and so I
Hmm.
think that they could
Yeah,
really pat themselves on the back and be like, hey, look, we nominated a horror movie.
yeah.
Um, and it feels like they could do that. I still think that there's an outside shot, but
Again,
we'll
and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I'll see, especially like, even if they somehow don't give it the picture, best picture, I would take director and I would take Demi Moore and even Margaret Qualley, to be honest. Like, let's not forget, shall we not forget? Like, she was also fucking awesome in this movie.
hmm
I love that movie, by the way. Can you tell? You
yeah.
know, I would
And that
take.
was the substance portion of the podcast.
Yes, exactly. And no, but just again, I hope I'm wrong, but I cannot see her being nominated for a director. But I really hope I'm wrong, and I will celebrate if I'm wrong. So yeah. Anyway, do you have any other hot movie takes?
No, 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 it's fine.
All right. So with that, we can move to the underrated part of the podcast, where you will tell me who do you think is the most underrated actor we have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I I struggle with like definition of the word underrated, but
I
like
know some people do.
the default answer to this, and like for actor and actress, and then I kind of tried to branch out for the other three
Hmm.
because I think that it is an absolute motherfucking tragedy that these two have not had more work in a front facing, like they are the lead in a movie that could be nominated for an Academy
Hmm.
Award type deal.
Hmm.
For the actor, it's Jaimin Hansu.
Oh.
I think he proved early in his career that he was able to lead a Steven Spielberg movie and be the emotional center and be nominated for an Academy Award. And I rewatched Gladiator for the first time with somebody who had never seen it. And I was just like, fuck, he like Russell Crowe's so good in that, but it's like what makes me cry at the end of Gladiator is Jaimin burying the figure in the sand and being like, we will see each other again, but not today, not to, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And he's so good. He's
Yes.
so talented. And
Hmm.
the latter part of his career has been shunted into the like these bit parts in superhero movies. And like I can't even say he's like a character actor. Like there's some character actors who it's like, oh, I wish you would be elevated to the
Yeah.
status of
Hmm.
being a lead. But I don't feel like he even has that. He's just a guy that it's
Bad
like,
guy number
oh,
2-1. The leader of the bad guys here.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna throw him in. We're gonna throw him in Guardians of the Galaxy for a scene. We're gonna put him
Yes.
in Shazam, and he's gonna be a wizard who has a couple moments. And I guess he has more moments in Shazam too. But it's like, put him in a David Fincher movie.
Oh yeah.
Get him with working with, like
Nolan.
Christopher Nolan would be incredible. Just
Ooh.
put somebody who can like work with their talents and
Hmm.
like work with his talent and like bring that back out because he has charisma and
Hmm.
gravitas on a screen. Even that like Gran Torino movie, or not Gran
Gran
Torino,
Turismo, yeah.
Gran Turismo. He's the father,
Yes.
and there's some like shades in there of this father son dynamic, and that he is bringing to the screen, but like it's not given time to breathe. He doesn't have. Oh my god, it frustrates me so deeply, and a lot of
Hmm.
people have that take, so
Hmm.
it's like almost not underrated because
No,
people
he
want it to
is.
happen.
But
But like
he genuinely is. Because many
motherfucker,
people they don't know who he is. They know like, oh, that's the black guy from this movie. That's the black Yeah, like they know his act, they know his face. But if you tell them, oh, what's your favorite German Hinsu movie? Who?
yeah.
And then you show them a picture. Oh, Furious 7. Yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like him. I like him. Like that's one of those that you know the face.
hmm
And I wish, and I think I said it before, even on this podcast. I wish he would be definitely at the top of the list of actors. I wish they had the kind of like Brendan Fraser renaissance with one
Oh.
movie that like they
hmm
would win all the awards for. Because if there is a guy who's been at it for now 3 decades,
hmm
it's him. Like yeah. And I'll never hate Jamin Hinsu movie and never hate him. Just he seems to be like a very good dude and
Yeah.
great actor, honestly.
Yeah.
So what about some actresses here? Who do you think is the most underrated actress?
This is the other like kind of chalk pick that I'm picking.
Hmm.
Judy Greer.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Judy Greer has been in the industry now almost as long as Jaimin.
Hmm.
And she is more of a character actress. She'll pop up in comedies. She pops up in, I
Hmm.
think she's like BoJack Horseman. She does a bunch of animated stuff.
Yeah.
But like if she's in it, it's a small role. She's a friend. She's a sister. She's a mom.
Yes.
She's she's in Arrested Development, and she's hilarious in Arrested
She
Development. But
is.
like I've always been like she could have like a honestly Rachel McAdams. I feel like is a little bit underrated too, even though she has been more prestigious and like has more notoriety to her name.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like I'm like I would love if Judy Greer had a spotlight moment or like a moment where she gets a meaty role, like a dramatic role. This doesn't even have to be dramatic. It could be horror for all like
Yeah.
like really good substantive like a Demi Moore, like give
Hmm.
her
Hmm.
that type of role and I think she would crush it.
Yes.
Um I've personally loved her for so long, and it kind of breaks my heart that she doesn't have that like movie poster with her where she's one of the primary people on there.
100%. I feel like with Judy Greer, it's kind of the opposite of Jimin, where like we know he can be great, right? Jimin
Mhm.
Hinsu. And I think we, because of, she gets, as you said perfectly, she gets, typecasted into, oh, the friend of a mom or a mom of this person, and just, these kind of like, always the side character, right? Always like
Mhm.
the fifth, sixth on a like credits
Oh, yeah.
list. And so therefore, I feel like we only seen the hints of what she could actually be. We've only seen the like hints of greatness here and there. And I think if you actually let her lead one or two movies, we would actually see the full potential she's got. Because like she can do comedy very well.
Hmm.
I'm sure like she's done some dramas I haven't seen because I again she's unfortunately typecast in many dumb comedy or dumb many comedies. They're like, oh yeah, she's just funny because she is funny, and to be fair, she is fucking funny.
She's in the
Like
Halloween
Archer,
movies, right?
yeah, oh that's true, but they kind of get rid of her, and I didn't really like that. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say
I've
like
not
that
seen those movies, so I just forgot that she was in those.
that
She's great
decision.
in art.
Yeah, oh no, Archer, like her, and especially the character she's voicing.
Oh God.
She just makes it so fucked up, so sexy, so twisted, and just Archer, like it's almost her show in a way, where
Hmm.
you're just looking for what Cheryl or Cheyenne or whatever name she ends up with, the next that day will come out next. She will say next? That's so funny. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think like with her, we haven't even seen the peak yet, and that's what intrigues me about an actor or actress. We haven't seen what they are capable of, right?
Hmm.
Give them the chance. But great pick. What about some directors here?
Um, I I think I have two, and one's like a classic pick of like a classic
Okay,
director who's made a lot of good movies, and one who's like more modern. For
okay.
like the classic, I want to throw out Peter Weir because if you
Oh,
look at Peter Weir's filmography,
mm-hmm,
dude's made a lot of bangers. And when people talk about like, oh, listed like some of the greatest directors of all time, you don't hear Peter Weir's name enough. So I just wanted to say his name on a podcast because uh, dude's a really accomplished director and he
mm-hmm,
deserves more respect on his name.
mm-hmm.
In terms of more modern, just personal, John Carney. I've
Nice.
watched every single one of John Carney's movies and the varying level of quality, but I love every single one of them.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I if I can get anybody to just tap like even his most recent one, Flora and Son, which was on Apple, like it's not as good as something like uh, uh
Sing Street.
Sing Street. There we go. Yeah. Or even like Once. Like I think his debut of Once is really
Mm-hmm,
beautiful in an indie way. But I am kind of afraid that he's being relegated to
mm-hmm,
streaming movies now. And I think that he is more talented than that. And I think that the way he marries music with his stories is really
mm-hmm,
creative and interesting. And he's consistently done it in ways that makes good movie music and is makes sense within the context of the story that he's trying to tell, and it's incredibly engaging.
mm-hmm.
So I would just say, yeah, I would throw out for like the classic and then for the modern. I think those are my two guys.
That's very good. I'm looking up. Did he do Seeking the? No, that wasn't him. Never mind.
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Yeah, because that has the same kind of vibe, but it's not. That's not him. So that's
Mm-mm.
Lauren Scafaria. So apology to John Carney.
That's
Uh,
that's Lorene Scafaria.
yeah, apparently
That's
so.
that's the director of oh man, she did shit with Carey
She did
Mulligan where she like
Hustlers, Coherence. She did. Wait, that's a producer's credit. No, wait. That yeah. She. I think she made Hustlers.
huh.
Yep. Yeah, she did
Anyway,
the stripper movie with J-Lo, Hustlers. That's the
I like that.
only other, and she directed 3 episodes of Succession and some episodes of New Girl.
Nice.
Yeah. No, look, great. Actually, good picks. Like Peter Weir, I think I've only seen Master and Commander,
Hmm.
and I really like that. And I definitely need to catch up on him because like dude understands how to shoot like tension and action as well.
Hmm.
And with John Carney, like I've only seen once because obviously like Czech person wins an Oscar, I'll watch the movie. You know, even if it's for a song. Markéta Irglová, great, represent.
So real
So
quick, you haven't
yeah.
seen The Truman Show or Dead Poet
Oh
Society or
wait, I'm a dum dum.
Witness?
No, I'm dum dum. Never mind.
Okay.
I'm revoking my cinephile card because like Dead Boy Society is probably like my number in 15 top favorite movies. Dead Boy Society is awesome.
Same, absolutely, and that's what I mean. Where it's like he directed Dead Poet Society, Truman Show, Master and Commander, and it's like those are movies that you hear about. You still, I mean,
No.
I
I've
went.
seen them all. Yeah, no. I thank you for the
Uh,
correction. Thank you for the no. I do really appreciate it because like I'm like, am I only seeing it because I know I have like with him. I know I have quite a few gaps. So that's why I only I always associate him with just Master and Commander. That's all.
which
So
is
great,
fine.
great.
That movie's great, by the way.
Hmm.
Wish we got a sequel.
But yeah, no. So yeah, with him, damn, Dead Boy Society. See, that's a movie I need to rewatch because that's fucking awesome. A
It's
Captain,
great.
my Captain. Yeah.
Hmm.
And like with John Carney, like once I've seen, great. I still haven't seen Sing Street. I hear so many good things. I need to watch it. I
That
know.
shit's crazy.
I know. Like it was on Netflix here for a bit, so I'm like, oh yeah, add it to the queue. And then before I managed to watch it, they removed it. I'm like, where the fuck is my Sing Street?
Yeah,
So
that's his 5 out of 5 movie for me. Like a lot of his movies operate from 4 to 4.5, but Sing Street is his 5 out of 5 for me.
I that's what I kind of gather. Like for many, for many fans, that's to them that's his best movie. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm very excited. I am genuinely excited about that. So I need to cross it off my watch. It's been too long, but like it's not streaming anywhere here, and I don't like to do it the other illegal way. So I'm trying to be good boy.
Ethical of you.
Yes, I know. I am, again, I have some morals. Not many, but some. I'll just leave it at that. I know the next one is a bit difficult, but do you have one or two movies you would want to shout out as like underrated?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm leaning into the me of it because
Okay.
it's like you have me as the guest, so it's like I'm gonna pick Nash movies. Have you heard
That's
of a
what I
movie?
want. Yes.
Have you heard of a movie called Together Together?
Never.
It,
No.
yeah, it's with Ed Helms and oh man, I don't remember the actress. She's from I think you should leave. She's one of the I don't know if you know that sketch comedy show, but
Yeah.
she like, plays has a bit part, but it's really just the two of them, and it's just and I intentionally was trying to pick things that like people who I follow on Letterboxd, like and like
Patty
if
Harrison, you mean? By the
yeah,
way?
Patty Harrison, that's her
Yeah.
name, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I wanted to pick movies that like people I follow hadn't seen a lot of, and I think I only follow like 6 or 7 people who have seen this, and
Okay.
it's just it's an adult friendship movie, and I
Mm-hmm.
love adult friendship movies because it goes into the nuances between what it's like to like this is a male and female
Mm-hmm.
who are in a relationship with one another, but it's a friendship relationship, and they discuss the possibility of like or the strangeness with the nuances of their relationship in terms of should they just be dating and
Yeah.
because I think I personally attach to it because the vast majority of my friends are women, and I think it just made me feel really warm and fuzzy. Like I'm fairly certain they meet each other because Ed Helms wants to have a child. He's
Mm-hmm.
single, and so he ends up meeting her as a surrogate mother for to carry her, and they become and they're both kind of reclusive outcasts, and it's
Hmm.
charming, it's funny, it's written really well, and if I can just direct people to go watch it, I think it conveys a like slice of life. I love slice of life movies.
Same.
Um, it conveys a slice of life that you don't see a lot of, which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
like that whole process, and then the interpersonal relationship between somebody who like a surrogate who's carrying a baby for somebody else, and the relationship that they have with one another, and then the potentially the friendship that they have after the fact, or whether or not they
Hmm.
talk to each other after the fact. It's great. I would recommend it. It's funny, it's emotional, it's heartfelt. It's such a Nash movie. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I've never even heard of it, which
which
is
is a
kind of
good thing.
rare. Which is rare for me because like many movies I haven't seen but I've heard of, like people
Mhm.
talk about and all that, like But this one I know I'm like no. Okay, it's now it's on my radar. Thank you. Is there any other one you would like to shout out?
No, because I spent too much time. That's
It's
the
fine.
thing. That
That's
was the
fine.
very last because I copy and pasted all your questions into
Yeah.
a note. It was the very last one because I was like, I have to somehow pick an underrated movie, and I don't know what that means.
Uh-huh.
So
Hmm.
2 minutes before I had settled on to get
That's
it together.
that's good. Oh, it's all right. What about do you have a TV show that you would consider underrated and you would want to shout out?
So going back to your earlier question of movies or TV, I don't watch a lot of
Yep.
TV.
Yep.
So in terms of underrated, really hard because all the shows that I like to watch are shows that everybody
Have
knows
seen.
about.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm going a little off kilter here because
Okay.
in the age of streaming, like TV is I feel like it's a looser definition of what can qualify.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like something that is episodic, something that you can rely on, whether or not it's released weekly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time watching streaming and or like YouTube. So I wanted to shout out, I don't know if you know Dropout TV.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
So they're an independent streaming, and they just do comedy related like
Mm-hmm.
sketches with improv, and there's various games, like there's one called Very Important People where this person sits down and she's interviewing a improv comedian who is in some sort of ridiculous makeup or costume that they don't know what they're being turned into, and then all of a sudden they come out on stage and they're being interviewed as this character, like an alien
Ah.
or a rock monster
Yeah.
or two twins that are conjoined that are clowns, and it's ridiculous and it's hilarious. You've probably seen clips pop up on TikTok or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's appointment television to me.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to shout out because I love traveling. It's called Jetlag the Game. It is a YouTube channel with three friends that make travel-based games. Right now, they're in Japan. They're this current season that they're doing, and they're playing hide and seek in Japan, and they use like the public transportation to get around, and it's very in-depth gameplay. There's the way they try to fuck each other over. It's funny, it's engaging, and it's a travel television show that is just developed on YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
it's also on Nebula, which is its own separate streaming platform. But I just wanted to shout those out because I could have said an actual television show that I've seen, but like I watch a lot of like Taskmaster, which is a British television show,
Yeah, yeah.
like panel show. I love that show, but
Mm-hmm.
they're generally pretty popular, and so I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go off the beaten
No,
trail a little bit.
I appreciate it, and like many younger people, YouTube is their TV, really. Like
Hmm.
they live on YouTube. So like, what do you mean TV, TV? Like, no, give me YouTube. No, no, no. I respect that. Okay. So Nash, thank you so much for all of this. It's been a blast. I've asked you a lot of questions, and you're gracious enough to answer all of them. So
Hmm.
I do appreciate that. Before we say goodbye, do you have a question or two for me?
Yeah, I had a couple.
Okay.
When was the last time a movie made you cry, and what was the movie?
Oh shit. I see. I'm very good at suppressing the cry. So like it must be a
Oh,
proper. I know. No, but like now with my age, as I am getting older, I think I'm getting a bit softer. I think the last one must have been. I think it was Coda,
oh, oh, yeah, yeah.
and it
That
was
movie
before, and I
fucked
watched
me
this
up.
before it. The people turned into and it was this or Everything Everywhere all at once. But I watched both of them before people turned on them.
Uh-huh.
basically. So
Yeah.
I'll say that because I watched it just before it was nominated, before it won, before then all the like, oh, Hallmark movie now wins Oscar, great. I'm like,
Hmm.
get fucked, like genuinely get fucked. Like
Oh, the scene with her dad oh God.
that the throat, yeah,
Oh
like
my
see, and
God.
when we describe it, it sounds kind of creepy, but it's very fucking touching scene. It's
Oh
very
my God.
fucking, and I'm like, Jesus fuck. I'm like very close this year, very very close was the Wild Robot.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
had like five, like my girlfriend and I we seen that in a cinema, and there was like 4 or 5 moments where she was crying, and I was like, damn, that's very like my eyes were sweating a bit, but I was never like fully. But if I were to rewatch it, I think I would probably just break down because
Yeah.
no, that's a beautiful movie. But yeah, like so last one, Coda or everything I read, all the ones with obviously the tax scene, just
Hmm.
in another life, that scene and that just the writing of that scene, the emotion of that scene, it's beautiful. I just yeah.
I completely agree.
Hmm?
Um, okay, great. That was a question that spawned mid-episode because I was talking
Okay.
about crying. The question that I had formed last night,
Hmm.
if you were stuck in a time loop, think Happy Death Day or Groundhog Day or Palm Springs,
Okay.
what do you think you would choose to do with your time? Let's say that like after you're stuck there, you know you're stuck there. What is the first thing you're doing?
I'm gonna be so boring because if you're stuck there, and like like I would try to enjoy myself, and after I've stopped enjoying myself, I would try to figure out the way out. And the way I enjoy myself, I would just watch as many movies as possible.
Okay.
I'm so fucking. I know I'm boring as fuck. I know, but like what we are missing is time to watch movies. So if you have the same events taking place every single day, you live through the day, right? You live through it twice to like make sure. And like if nothing great happens to you that day, obviously if like if you meet the love of your life or if you meet let's say a girl and then the night finishes well, obviously I'm not gonna watch movies because no. But like if nothing happens, might as well.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? So,
That's
and then
it. Totally.
obviously, and when I would be fed up and I would actually want to move on, I'll be like, okay, how do I break this time loop shit?
Okay. That question was asked to me recently, and that's the reason why I thought it was a good question to ask you. Yes.
That's a great question, actually. That's
Cool. Yeah, that's all I have for you. I had a great time.
or same. Honestly, this Nash, it's been a blast. It's been a long episode, but I do not regret a single second of it.
Time flew for me.
Maybe some things I've said, but nothing you said. So, like, really appreciative of your time. Genuinely, thank you.
Same.
If people liked what they had to, what you had to say, what's the best place for them to find you?
I would say that as of right now, I would say that at Nash underscore doll on Letterboxd or at Nash doll on Blue Sky. Uh,
Nice.
those are my two where I'm popping off the most. Where you'll get the most raw, unfiltered Nash.
Hmm.
Yeah, follow me there.
All right. Those links will be down there as always. With me, any movies lost on Letterboxd. Lostinmovies.co.uk is my blog, and obviously here every second Friday, Flex and Chill. Please subscribe and all that good stuff. This podcast, as always, is part of SPDM Crew Podcast Media, and special thanks goes to Highflyer Creative for designing my logo. If you want to see what else they have happening, visit highflyercreative.com. So until next time, bye bye.